Just about set for the kick. Jam-packed, 85,000 plus here on the South Carolina State Fairgrounds in Columbia. Alex Flanagan just a moment ago with the head coach of the Gamecocks, Lou Holtz.
Coach, you've been vocal about the need to change the culture here at South Carolina. How much can you do that with this game?
Well, we can do it a lot. We've done it already. I like the way the team's prepared for this game. I like their mental attitude. I like the way they've worked, the way they're willing to compete. It feels like it's a big-time atmosphere on the practice field, and we're going to play well. Whether it's good enough or not, I don't know, but we're going to play well.
All right, Coach Holtz, thank you.
Thank you.
Everybody knows about big-time atmospheres. Lou Holtz would be a pretty good source. 6 different programs to bowl games and into the top 20. Georgia has won the toss here this evening, and South Carolina with Troy Williamson awaiting the kick from Brandon Coutu. Both teams 1-0. This is the conference opener for the Bulldogs. They had some trouble handling Georgia Southern a week ago while South Carolina blew out Vanderbilt, and a very high kick returned from the 3-yard line. Matthew Thomas trying to break out of one tackle and finally wrestled out of bounds at the 18-yard line. Dondrell Pinkins takes over now. One of the bigger quarterbacks we'll see this year. 245 out of Camilla, Georgia. Hotel and restaurant management major. And Lou Holtz describes him really as a single wing tailback. Lou should know that's what he played when he was a high school quarterback. The only Division I quarterback in history who can say he has thrown not 1 but 2 touchdown passes of at least 98 yards. Maybe still a bigger running threat than passing threat, though. And from the 17, not from the shotgun this time, they start with a toss to Demetrius Summers, and last year's prize recruit out of Lexington, South Carolina. Off tackle for a couple. Bridgestone starters for South Carolina. We'll see a lot of Corey Boyd, probably at least 2 or 3 other tailbacks, and a pretty dangerous deep tandem of Williamson and Thomas with Brownlee the tight end. Up front, 4 returning offensive linemen. They led the SEC in fewest sacks allowed last year. And already Demetrius Summers looking like Billy may have a cramp after just 1 carry.
You just hate to see that in your running back. You hate to see that for anybody, but a tailback is such a sensitive mechanism, meaning those legs and maybe something in his calf, or I certainly hope it's not an injury, but it can really affect the way he moves, his power, and the way he cuts.
Well, we'll watch how he's tackled here, maybe pick up why he's limping.
Right there, when somebody dives on the back of your ankle, very often it affects the Achilles. And again, we're not speculating about the nature of the injury. That was Jarvis Jackson starting at middle linebacker in place of the suspended Odell Thurman. He had a run through, had a chance for a big play and narrowly missed.
So we knew we'd see some of Corey Boyd at tailback already in there. And on second down to the 25-yard line, his first carry. Bridgestone defensive starters for the Bulldogs. They'll line up this way up front. Thompson, Golston with Anderson and the 2-time All-American David Pollock. He'll be all over the field, both end spots. Harrison, Jackson, Verdun, Wheeler. Derek White with a left ankle problem missed virtually the whole week of practice. And in the secondary, Minter, Davis, Blue, and Jennings will be called on for some run support today. Georgia Southern, 294 rushing yards a week ago and 28 points against this Bulldog defense. Third, a long one. And there is the tailback version of Dondrell Pinkins, straight ahead out of the shotgun for the first down.
When you have a running threat at quarterback like Dondrell Pinkins, it makes it so tough on a defense in 3rd and short situations. You line up with the running back, he becomes a blocker, and Dondrell Pinkins, with his versatility and the number of plays that Lou Holtz can go to in his playbook, makes it awfully hard in those 3rd and short situations.
In Carolina's opener against Vanderbilt, 77 rushing yards and a touchdown for Pinkins. And this time almost slips as he heads right into the arms of David Pollock. In on the stop at the line of scrimmage.
One thing you certainly don't want when your quarterback is running the football, you don't want David Pollock unblocked, because he's the kind of, here he is, absolutely untouched, and it did not look like an option play to me. It looked like maybe it was a busted play. Pinkins struggling, because Pollock is the kind of athlete that will not only tackle you, he'll take the football away from you, as he did in this stadium 2 years ago.
So no gain, and second down and 10. Inside give, Dacus Turman, junior out of Washington, Georgia. Lots of recruits cross the state line between these two programs. Arnold Harrison, strong side linebacker, with that stop for a loss of a yard, and it will be 3rd down and 11 on this opening possession of the game for the Gamecocks.
Let me finish that thought. Pollock took the ball away from the quarterback in the end zone for a touchdown 2 years ago here. And I think that South Carolina should run directly at him, but it'd be a good idea to have a blocker on him.
The amazing number for Mark Richt since he's taken over, 12-1 in the opponent home stadium. You just don't do that in the SEC. Pinkins on the keeper, comes within a couple of yards, maybe 3 shy of the first down. Will Thompson on the tackle, and most of this first possession after they lose Demetrius Summers after his first carry is Dondrell Pinkins, David, acting as the single wing tailback from quarterback.
When you talk about keys to the football game, number one, Dondrell Pinkins has to have close to an error-free football game. He cannot turn the ball over. He has to make sound decisions, and South Carolina has to try to avoid those 3rd and long situations.
Josh Brown with the punt, and bobbled after the fair catch is signaled, and South Carolina comes up with it at the 31-yard line. Georgia had Tyson Browning deep. He broke a 72-yarder for a touchdown last week. And on his first touch this week, he coughs it up.
Well, Carolina has had some success over the last 5 years against Georgia, especially in this stadium. One thing you cannot do on the road is be sloppy with the football. Tyson Browning muffs this punt, does not make a clean reception, and look at the Gamecocks converging. Opportunistic, they take advantage with the short field.
Horace Lambert recovers for Carolina. And the option pitch out of the wishbone look. Corey Boyd fighting across the 30, picks up about 2. Bill, when we were here 4 years ago, one of the early signature wins in Lou Holtz's era here was over Georgia based on takeaways, and especially against Quincy Carr.
Absolutely, you don't need to give them to him.
So a gain of 4, and from the 28-yard line, 2nd down and 6. 3 receivers on the left. And again, it's Pinkins trying the middle, 26-yard line. Alex, what do you know about Demetrius Summers?
Dave, Demetrius Summers was taken to the locker room where they are going to x-ray his right ankle. He's never had problems with that ankle before, but it doesn't look good. At least for South Carolina, that is one area where they are a little bit more deep, Dave.
Well, that would appear to be a whole lot more than the cramp we hoped it was.
You just have to hope it's not that Achilles. But again, they'll take good care of him, and hopefully it's a minor injury.
Gamecocks need to get almost to the 21 of Georgia. Bulldogs with the blitz. Pinkins, as he is falling, leaves that one out of bounds. And it was Greg Blue coming up from the Rover, leading tackler in the opener 1 week ago, but a flag down right where the sack happened, David.
He did not escape the tackle box, and there was not.
Number 5 on the offense. Lost it down at the spot of the foul. It'll be 4th down.
Dondrell Pinkins trying to do what you're taught to do, throw the football away, but if you get caught inside the tackle box, here's the tackle box right here. You've got to get outside that tackle box if you're going to throw into an area where you have no wide receiver. He did not have a wide out down the right sideline. The proper call.
Bulldog defense holds. Joey Bowers on now. And as he takes the snap, more whistles. And a Georgia timeout call.
Well, Thomas Davis got caught on the field. He was the 12th man. And as he hustled to get off the field, South Carolina hustled to snap the ball. Lou Holtz is saying that they got the ball snapped before Georgia called the timeout. The officials disagree. Lou is out to about the numbers. He's going to be extremely animated in this football game. Of course, there's nothing new about that.
No, the only news would be if he wasn't.
Lou Holtz tends to get involved out on the field more than most coaches. From time to time, he becomes a 12th man out there.
Well, tonight, our college football doubleheader continuing here on ESPN at 8:45 Eastern as Cedric Benson, Vince Young, and the Texas Longhorns, number 8, as they try to avenge last year's loss in Austin to Arkansas. They're in Fayetteville tonight, and they also come to you in high definition on ESPN HD. Revenge twice over for Texas, which also lost a meeting in the Cotton Bowl 2000 to Arkansas. They were all hyped up to avenge that on their home field, and
yeah, but
all they got was a 38-20.
I can always tell when that happens because you go into a deep mourning. You turn blue.
The more a team talks about revenge, don't they lessen their chances of actually proving
an old
that avenge?
Bill Curry theory.
Revenge doesn't work.
I think revenge doesn't work in football because we're going to kill these guys. We're going to get even with. You get out there in a 320-pound nose guard, bloodies your nose, and all of a sudden it ain't such a big deal what happened a year ago.
Well, regardless of revenge, I know one thing: the Longhorns have been thinking about the game last year for a long time. And I think the Longhorns will be ready down in Fayetteville. They're not going to get ambushed this time around.
Lou Holtz knows a little something about what it takes to take on a Texas team, too. One of his previous successful stops. Almost 3 decades ago. That is now really hard to believe.
Don't even think about it.
1977.
Don't remind me of that. Lou's greatest line. He was at Arkansas, and they were trying to get in a big bowl game, and the people started throwing oranges out there, and somebody said, what do you think of the fans throwing oranges on the field? Lou said, I'm just glad we're not going to the Gator Bowl. He's always got the last laugh.
Hasn't been laughing much, though, after what he called the biggest embarrassment of his career. The way last season ended, losing to their arch rival Clemson 63-17, and everything since that day has been based on never letting that happen again.
Well, he's tried to really instill the culture that he's preached since the day he got here 6 years ago by literally teaching classes. He put together a book that we had a chance to see yesterday.
And not just in football, life lessons. Bowers hopes somebody can get down there and kill it around the 1, and they just might have managed. They did. This is going to be down at the 2.
For people who wonder about this rule, it's a matter of where the ball is touched and possessed first.
Ike Crowfoot keeps it from going into the end zone. And we'll meet Danny Ware, who had such a sterling debut last week, when we come back. Well, Carolina does not get points out of the muffed punt, but they do get the next best thing, and that's Georgia back up to their own 3-yard line. And out of the eye on first down, and very near a safety. It is a South Carolina safety, and a 2-0 lead. They try to stay conservative, but Ricardo Hurley comes up to make the stop in the end zone.
Danny Ware showing his inexperience. Now, this is not the place to cut and try to get to the sideline. He really doesn't have much to work with, but you go north and south and you explode into the line of scrimmage rather than give up a chance for a safety.
Coach, I think that Danny Ware made penetration outside of the goal line here. I think he initially made penetration and then got knocked back. That is very close to not being a safety. And South Carolina might have gotten the benefit of the doubt on that call.
Lou Holtz said to us in our meeting yesterday, we don't need any help to win this game. But so far, Georgia's doing everything it can to encourage this Gamecock squad, to give them hope that they got a chance to win. Errors in the kicking game, errors of field position, and now an error of judgment in not running it out of the end zone with authority. And to even, David, I think you're probably right, but to even give the official a decision to make there is a serious mistake.
It was awfully close, and we'll see if we can take one more look from the sky cam angle. And you're absolutely right, Coach. This is a freshman mistake, but watch the football. I think the football makes it out of the end zone and the initial thrust, and then where it's driven back into the end zone. That probably should have been Georgia football at the half-yard line.
I disagree. I don't think he got out. I think the official was right on the spot, and I think the call was correct.
Well, Coach, that won't be the last time tonight.
How dare you disagree with me?
Well, the free kick, Brandon Coutu off the tee. And bobble at the 18-yard line before Matthew Thomas reverses field. That's not always a good decision either. Particularly poor decision here. He ends up losing 5 on the return, all the way back to his 13, chased there by Keelan Johnson.
You can get away with reversing your field against Vanderbilt, but not against Georgia. There's all sorts of team speed all over the field for Mark Richt's ball club.
Brandon Van Gorder, winner of the Broyles Award last year, is the top assistant coach in the country. But he says a whole list of Richt assistants that help out Brian on that side of the ball actually deserve that. Statistically, the equal minute group in the country last year. Not so this year, though. Gonzie Gray with his first carry. We get our first update from Reese Davis in the studio.
All right, Dave, Taco Bell takes us from Columbia to Columbus, the Horseshoe, Marshall, and Ohio State. Lydell Ross. That ball is going to come loose. Nobody's sure where it is except for Jonathan Goddard. He knows where it is because he has it in the end zone. Marshall had it tied at 14. Then late in the first half, Justin Zwick, Roy Hall. They're in the fourth quarter now, 21-14. Third.
All right, Reese, and a swing pass for Corey Boyd to hunt for some room. They'll mark him down around the 21 and bring up 3rd and 2.
Well, let me give you my inside scouting report on this South Carolina offensive line. Alex Hawkins, my old teammate with the Baltimore Colts and a former All-American here at South Carolina in 1958, tells me this O-line is so well coached and so well coordinated that they will knock the Georgia Bulldogs in the dirt all day long.
Among other things, Alex Hawkins is never wrong. He never fails to entertain, and he's never wrong. Right?
He's a great guy. He's a great teammate.
Blitz and contact followed by flags. At least from Will Thompson, and there actually might have been a Bulldog teammate or two also across the neutral zone.
This should be called on the defense. When the defense steps across and the offense moves to protect itself, then it's called on the defense.
Bulldogs trying to time the snap. Will Thompson was in first.
That's a bad call by the SEC crew.
Put it on Jonathan Alston.
Watch who moves first. The defense is in the neutral zone. Then Alston moves to protect himself, and he is one man adjacent to the defender who moved. Should have been called on the defense. We saw it missed a week ago by a Big Ten crew. Now we see it missed by an SEC crew. It's a very difficult rule. It's a kind of weird rule, actually. And it sure hurts because South Carolina is not going to do well with 3rd and 8.
They'll go from the eye. And a draw play. Heading for room. Boyd. Corey Boyd. Finally brought down by Thomas Davis, the free safety. A couple of yards shy of the first down. But Boyd, the sophomore out of Orange, New Jersey, fighting hard to get as close as he did, David.
That's a great effort by Boyd on the outside. Lou Holt said Demetrius Summers is their best back with the football, but Boyd has really picked things up coming into this football game. He's going to be short of the first down. And looking back on that penalty, big break goes against South Carolina. We're going to see a punt.
Back to Josh Brown kicking, and back to Tyson Browning deep for Georgia. Couldn't handle the last effort. This one he will let bounce and take a Gamecock roll to around the 43-yard line. Good 35-yarder because there was no return. Can Georgia get anything going offensively, trailing 2-0? Back in Columbia, jam-packed Williams-Brice Stadium. Dave Barnett, Bill Curry, David Norrie, Alex Flanagan. That is almost as odd as a 2-0 score. 8:02 to 6 seconds on time of possession for Georgia. They have run one play that ended in Danny Ware down in the end zone for the 2-0 Gamecock lead. He's back out in the eye as they start 42 yards or so better off than they did on their only other possession. And the veteran Green already with a play change at the line, and it is Ware busting through. Close to a first down at the 46 of South Carolina. Hit there by Co Simpson. David Green, 3 wins from Johnny Rauch's school record for total victories. 6 wins to tie Peyton Manning for the all-time Division I-A record of 39 wins. And if he doesn't break that record, I don't know how you will be able to describe the level of disappointment in Athens. 7 wins they need to have before they
can describe it. I can describe it, but I can't do it on the air.
Ware got him 9. And again, Green gets a look at the defense, then makes his call. And again, it's Danny Ware, and Ware will have the first down. The rest of Georgia's offense, 422 yards without a turnover in their opener. Des Williams, fullback, maybe the most dangerous set of receivers in the SEC. Brown and Gibson, the new tight end Milner, replaces Ben Watson, New England's first-round pick. This was a very disappointing area offensively last year. They allowed the most sacks in the SEC, 47. They did not produce a 1,000-yard rusher. And many of the same names from last year back starting this year. They're going to measure, but from our initial look, didn't look that close, and it's not. It is a Bulldog first down.
Dave, I think what Georgia needs to do on offense in this really hostile setting is get to their rhythm passing with those great wide receivers, some dump offs to the back. This is David Green's strength, and get this defense loosened up and then run it at them a little more. They've got superb throwing and catching skills, and that's what they need to use to get this offensive game plan on track.
Same look again. This time after the play fake to Ware. Green gunning deep, and just overthrown is Reggie Brown inside the 15. The Bridgestone starters for the Gamecock defense lining up this way. Familiar names: Scars, Shropshire, Capers, Thompson, the only junior, the rest are seniors. Linebackers also familiar: Hurley, Lawrence, Wilson. And in the secondary, Tyler and Bennett figure to really be tested today by the likes of Brown and Gibson. They love Simpson. They've already given him the obvious nickname of KO, because that's the kind of hitter he is. True freshman from Rock Hill. And on second down and 10, Ware swarm for a loss. Mo Thompson getting there first. Right behind him, Jason Capers.
So the Gamecock defense on first and second down and obvious run situations are going to have to take some chances on the outside. Man-to-man coverage. We saw it on first down when Green went down the field on a post route, and that is awfully dangerous when you consider the skill on the outside that Coach Curry mentioned earlier.
So 3rd and 11 from the Carolina 48. Now can David Green be heard? Delay blitz, he still has plenty of time, and he gets it off complete. And where they mark this is the question. Gibson makes the catch, and it looks like by inches he should have the first down.
Now, we talked at the top about David Green, 12-1 record on the road. really the best quarterback in the country when you go into an environment like Columbia, South Carolina. Look at the hand signals. He's calm, poised before the snap of the football. And then the respect of the speed of Fred Gibson on the outside. And Green takes the easy throw. Great size, number 82, and he also has the speed to go with it. The complete package, as talented a wide receiver as there is physically in the country.
He needed to be 6'4" to bring that one in. So Georgia first down. Green again over the middle, and again a little bit high. This time for Sean Bailey, who's only 6'1". Had he been 6'4", a la Gibson, maybe he makes that catch. Bo Simpson, whenever a receiver is stretched out like that, may cause them to sit a play or two.
That's right. He's a very aggressive, hard-hitting, true freshman. A week ago, Vanderbilt was able to isolate him in man coverage, and they really exploited him, which is going to happen to you your freshman year. He can expect to see some more of that.
Second down and 10. 36-yard line of Carolina, trailing 2-0. Here's the quick toss. There's a little rhythm passing. And Reggie Brown with the catch. It'll be 3rd and short. Reese Davis updates us from the ACC.
Dave, North Carolina and Virginia. Virginia hadn't had a kickoff return for a touchdown since the last time North Carolina was in Charlottesville. And it was Marcus Weeks going 100 yards then. It is Marcus Weeks going 100 yards now. Al Gross team, second straight week they've scored on a return. It's 49-10 late third.
Spanking going on in Charlottesville. Here 2-0. Inside 3 minutes remaining first quarter in Columbia. And a 3rd and 5 from the 30. Green sensing pressure from behind, and he overthrows Danny Ware. Both the ends were coming on it. George Gauze from one side, Mo Thompson from the other.
One of the notable weaknesses in this Georgia offense, at least up until the second game of the year, is their lack of ability to protect the passer, especially when there's a really active end like Mo Thompson, and you got Gauze on the other side, and the stunts really befuddle this line. Georgia Southern was able to rush the passer. Green not in his normal accurate mode today.
So Andy Bailey to try a 47-yarder with enough leg, and he is no good, just wide. Redshirt freshman out of Athens, Tennessee. Last week, every kick down the middle, all 8, 2 field goals. 0 for 1 today, still 2-0 Carolina. Always a great scene for tailgating, and those are the smart ones, the ones who get here a full day in advance. If you try and make it in the final 3 hours before kickoff, it ain't happening.
I call that extreme tailgating.
Not in the South, pal. It ain't nothing. That's just regular tailgating.
Just a weekly occurrence.
Pinkins under center from the 30. And rolling after the fake. May keep and will. And good 245-pound quarterback slides after a gain of 6 yards. It is warm. It is really humid tonight. As now about 90% of the field covered in shadows. Later it gets more comfortable. Both sides will be, especially the Bulldogs, who are still in full sunshine over across the way on their bench. So a gain of 6 for Pinkins. 3 wides. Dacus Turman is the setback, who is turned back from the line of scrimmage. The NFL kickoff weekend continues tomorrow night. ESPN Sunday Night Football. Priest Holmes and the Kansas City Chiefs take on Champ Bailey in his first game as a Denver Bronco. Chiefs Broncos also available in high definition on ESPN HD. Our coverage begins at 7:30 Eastern with NFL Prime Time. 3rd and 4. Only 1 out of 4 so far converted by the Gamecocks. And against the blitz, little turn in, broken tackle for Troy Williamson. Might not catch him as fast as he will run. Impossible. Touchdown. Tumbling in from 64 yards. And the flags are for the celebration. Troy Williamson, who had the 99-yard catch and run against Virginia last year, takes this one 64 yards.
Now here's what's been happening in this game. In every phase of the game, offense, defense, special teams, Georgia is giving encouragement to South Carolina. Now, lining up. Here, let's listen to the flag. It's going to be unsportsmanlike.
Number 82, South Carolina. The penalty will be enforced on the ensuing kickoff.
And Lou Holtz will be sick about that because they're getting ready to kick off from the 20-yard line, and that is inexcusable. And Troy Williamson, with his little act in the end zone, is what cost his team that priceless 15 yards. That's the kind of thing that drives coaches crazy. But what's happening in this game is South Carolina is being encouraged in every way. Georgia's just saying, here's the game. You got a shot to beat us.
Kicker position up for grabs this week. And Thomas Hooper, freshman out of Montgomery, Alabama, called on for the short placements. Makes it 9-0 Gamecocks.
Okay, we got Greg Blue and Tim Jennings, two of the most reliable tacklers on the Georgia squad. This is just a little slant trying to make the first down. I'm sorry, that was Jennings in coverage. He cannot make the tackle. Here comes Davis, and he can't catch Williamson, who can fly.
But Troy Williamson burst on the scene 2 years ago. As a freshman, he had 17 catches for more than a 28-yard average per catch. Blinding speed. He is the home run threat for South Carolina. That was a perfectly placed ball by Pinkins on the front hip, and a great job of a broken tackle or two by Williamson. They're going to need plays like that in the passing game to take advantage of the aggressive safeties for Georgia throughout this game.
He gets credit. Pinkins gets credit for 64 yards, 7 on the throw, 57 yards after the catch by Troy Williamson, the junior from Jackson, South Carolina. 9-0 inside the final minute of the first quarter.
Nothing ages a head coach more than to teach the guys how to respond to something good. Act like you've been in the end zone before, son. You don't have to do a somersault because we scored a touchdown. Act like it's just habitual. That's the very thing Coach Holtz is trying to get ingrained.
But before that penalty, nothing tickles a quarterback more than a wide receiver who can take an 8-yard catch and turn it into a long touchdown. Williamson just needs to be more disciplined and realize you don't want to ever give David Green in this offense a short field to operate.
Joey Bowers set to kick it off. Well, they're still grateful for the points, as unhappy as they may be for the penalty. Return from the 15, Brian McClendon. And the Dogs will start from around their 40 as we get an update again from Reese Davis.
Dave, what's been a difficult day for the Big 12 so far. Colorado in Seattle take on Washington State. They're playing at Quest Field, and the Buffs coming up with a blocked punt that Lawrence Vickers will recover for the touchdown. Buffs up 10-3 as they play in the third quarter. And Darius Walker from Lawrenceville, Georgia, has gone in for Notre Dame. They're on top of Michigan by 2.
Wow, that is not the Notre Dame we saw at BYU last week. From the 40. Green on the roll. Most quarterbacks settle for just throwing that one away. He actually hits Martrez Milner right on the sideline.
Well, taking one more look at the end of this touchdown, Williamson's going to get a lot of grins from his teammates when they watch on SportsCenter tonight, but tomorrow when Lou Holtz looks at the game film, it's going to be a scathing review that Williamson will get from Coach Holtz, and Holtz letting him know about it in no uncertain terms.
Ruled incomplete, out of bounds, that first down toss. And now Danny Ware fights maybe for 2. 135, 3 touchdowns in his debut game against Georgia Southern last week. First true freshman running back to open a season opener in the starting lineup since 1943. Herschel Walker didn't do it. Garrison Hurst didn't do it. Terrell Davis, all down that lineage of spectacular tailbacks at Georgia. Danny Ware, one of only 2 since World War II to accomplish that feat as the first quarter comes to an end. Feels a lot like 4 years ago here when South Carolina upset another highly ranked Georgia team. Through one quarter, they're up 9-0.
The road to the BCS is presented by Russell Athletic. On October 11, the #1 ranked Oklahoma Sooners continued their dominance over the Texas Longhorns in the Red River Shootout. Oklahoma quarterback Jason White threw for over 250 yards and 4 touchdowns, while the Sooner defense forced the Longhorns into 6 turnovers as the undefeated Sooners routed Texas 65-13.
Second quarter now. Williams-Brice Stadium jam-packed as it always is for South Carolina Gamecock football. We begin the second quarter. Georgia at its 44. They have a 3rd and 6. And Leonard Pope went in motion, now followed by Reggie Brown. They run the freshman Ware, and on the spin he comes close to midfield, but he actually needed to get slightly across midfield. So the Bulldogs will have a 4th and 1.
Yeah, I think it's significant that that's a very conservative call by Mark Richt. He's running off tackle on 3rd and 8.
Almost as if he planned to go for it all along,
Yep.
and he'll do it after
he was
takes
going to run
his
the ball
second time
twice.
out.
Yep. If he got it this close, he was going to go for it.
Now, how about that? This early in the game, midfield going for a 4th down.
Well, I think that's why they're calling a timeout. They're going to think about. They're going to think about it. It doesn't necessarily mean they'll go for it here, but I think Mark Richt realizes that the Gamecocks came to play today, and they need to take advantage of every opportunity they get.
How we got here? Our ESPN game track. Special teams played a huge role in the first quarter. Ike Crowfoot gets the save at the 3-yard line, and it's followed on the very first snap for Georgia by a Danny Ware caught for a safety. And a quick 2-0 lead that Troy Williamson turned into 9-0. 64 yards, 57 of it after he broke the tackle by Tim Jennings. Uga appears to be quite comfortable even in the heat.
That's his message for his football team.
Although somewhat perturbed by the score.
Yes, I don't think he's pleased with the performance so far.
And Uga knows that this Georgia team is no stranger to tough games in Columbia. Lou Holtz has given Mark Richt more than he can handle at times here in Columbia over the last couple of years. In fact, the last time Georgia played here, they did not score on offense.
Well, they will punt after the ultra-conservative call on 3rd and 6 and the timeout. Down to 1 timeout, and Gordon Ely Kelso, who served a 1-game suspension last week.
I had a guy on my staff that was appointed to walk by me in situations like that and say, punt the ball. that's what Jack Frigg did. A wonderful guy. Punt the ball. Punt the ball, Bill.
I assume he had a defensive background, Coach.
No, he was offensive coach.
A little bit of a low snap. Ely Kelso's kick is going to wobble and take a Georgia hop at the 5-yard line. So Carolina will deal with some poor field position. 44 yards, first punt of the year for Ely Kelso. Just about perfect. Even Lou Holtz's first South Carolina team, the winless group, still drew the SRO crowds that are expected. Not surprising when they show up and stand. It's just what happens every time they tee it up here in Columbia. And they start from their 7-yard line after a terrific 44-yard Georgia punt. Demetra Summers, who limped off to the locker room after one carry, is back, but almost this turnover out of the arms of Pinkins, very near where it could have been an interception for Jarvis Jackson. Now with Summers back on the sideline, Alex, what do you know about his condition?
Well, Dave, he got some good news. The x-ray revealed that he does not have a broken or a fractured ankle. Still not sure exactly the severity of it. They want to give him a little time, see if he can shake it off and come back in potentially, Dave. All
right, standing and watching for now. Plenty behind him. Corey Boyd, Gonzie Gray, Dacus Turman. Lots of tailbacks at Carolina. 5 played against Vandy. And one of them right here, Corey Boyd, driven back from the 10-yard line by Thomas Davis. Every bit the hitter that Co Simpson is at the same spot for the Gamecocks.
And welcome to the Southeastern Conference. Vis-a-vis Mr. Thomas Davis, one of the finest tackling safeties I have ever seen in this conference or any other. That is the way you tackle people. You bend your knees, you square up on the ball carrier, you wrap him up and you drive him back. What a terrific play with some help from his friends. But that's the way Thomas Davis plays all the time.
One of his biggest admirers is the opposing head coach, who says he's not just as good as any safety in the country. He hits like a linebacker and he covers like a cornerback. Now the conservative Carolina call on 3rd and long. Going to come up a couple yards short. On the carry by Pinkins, Danny Verdun-Wheeler making the tackle for Georgia.
We talked about Lou Holtz's game plan with Pinkins. Have Pinkins be secure with the football. He got away with one on 1st down. But Lou Holtz will continue to execute a conservative game plan, stay safe, and when his team is caught in 3rd and 5 or longer, I think we're going to continue to see conservative calls. Don't risk putting the ball up for grabs.
Straight up in the air, Josh Brown. Big roll his way, though, and they'll kill this one around the 42. And he gets 43 yards out of it. 9-0. South Carolina leading number 3 Georgia.
ESPN's College Football Saturday Primetime. Brought to you by Corona Extra. Miles away from ordinary. And Speed Stick 24/7. Maximum protection 24/7.
A Georgia offense which has been outgained 107 to 33 in total yardage. Starts at their own 41. One play, the safety, Danny Ware tackled in the end zone after the punt was killed near the goal line. Missed field goal by Andy Bailey. And a punt. That is all we've seen from the Georgia offense on their first 3 possessions. So they've had the worst of field position. More often, though, they've had a pretty good spot to take over, as they do here. They send Brown right and Gibson left. Almost exclusively out of the eye, with Des Williams in front of Danny Ware. 6 carries, 16 yards for Ware. That toss picked off by Co Simpson. And the prize freshman taking this one back all the way for Carolina. David Green just saw something we'll probably see a lot of out of the true freshman from Rock Hill, South Carolina. 56 yards on the Co Simpson interception return, and the extra point by Hooper makes it 16-0 Gamecocks. Absolutely everything Lou Holtz yesterday said his team didn't need, they're getting. Whether they need it or not, they're getting all kinds of help from the Bulldogs. And to their credit, they are taking advantage. And you know, Bill, as you look back to what set, I think, the feel and the tone for this game, Tyson Browning muffing the very first punt from that point on, Georgia has not looked confident in itself offensively.
Well, not only did he muff the punt, but he's turned down 3 since then, and 2 of them he should have caught. So they're giving up field position, and they're making every mistake that South Carolina needs for them to make, David.
I don't think Georgia has matched South Carolina's intensity in this football game. Blocking, tackling. This South Carolina Gamecock defense is really putting it on an offense, and it's causing problems for David Green in the offensive line.
Well, Rick Minter, the defensive coordinator who came after leaving Cincinnati, leaving his head coaching job under terms that were not so pleasant, has really enjoyed getting back in the trenches, as he says it, and his men are responding in a way that is very surprising to me. This is not what I expected from Georgia or South Carolina.
Co Simpson from the state 4A champs 2 years ago, Rock Hill High, signed as part of the 2003 recruiting class, but he didn't enroll until this past spring. So more mature than the average freshman. And no one who has seen him play yet, beginning with the new coordinator, Rick Minter, says anything about Co Simpson other than something to the effect, boy, this guy is way beyond his years, and he takes an officially 57-yard return of an interception in, and it is a 16-0 Gamecock lead. Browning on this return, but first, before he can even start to return it, whistles. Very odd time for whistles.
The ball hit the camera wire. Please keep the camera behind the ball. We will re-kick.
Well, we apologize. That's not supposed to happen with Skycam. But
he penalized the camera.
It hit the camera wire. We give you these great shots, and that's how we do it. Skycam rides on those wires, and it is absolutely spectacular to see the results that Skycam brings, but it's not supposed to ever touch the ball.
You don't have to coach ricochets off the wire.
Well, definitely the wire won't be a factor here. We're going to watch this one from behind.
Well, we asked Lou Holtz yesterday, would the Skycam be a problem? He said, hey, no problem at all. And I'm sure with a 16-0 lead, it's not going to bother him that much at this point.
It never has before. Always a first. So this kick by Joey Bowers, much deeper. Too deep to return for Browning. In fact, we return to Reese Davis.
All right, Dave Marshall giving Ohio State all it wants. 17-play, 83-yard drive, but the Thundering Herd get nothing out of it. They faked the field goal. Buckeyes snuffed it out, but Marshall just forced a fumble, so they have the ball back now, down by 7. Notre Dame, another touchdown from Darius Walker. They're up by 9 on the Wolverines.
But Tyrone Willingham did a pretty good coaching job this week.
Tyrone Willingham is a wonderful football coach. He just needs to keep doing what he's doing.
Disappointing loss a week ago at BYU, and maybe a resounding hallmark win for him if they can hang on against the Wolverines.
Dead ball, false start, number 87 on the offense, 5-yard penalty, first down.
Tight end Martrez Milner in after they lost the first-round draft pick at that spot. Ben Watson to New England. They expect Milner to be a big weapon. Leonard Pope, 6'7", second tight end, to be literally a big weapon and a dangerous one too. Milner backs him up 5, and on 1st and 15, Ware with a nice cutback at the 28-yard line. Let's watch Co Simpson's artistry again, David Norrie. 57 yards returning the pitch.
Well, let's take one more look at the touchdown. Co Simpson is the safety up on top. Freeze it right there. You have got to keep track of the safety on your radar screen. This is an uncharacteristic mistake by David Green. He doesn't account for the safety, and what a great break on the football by Co Simpson. Look at the athletic ability as he returns the football for the touchdown down the sideline.
On 2nd and 1, huge hole, and Ware cuts it back left side. And to the 40-yard line, he needed 1, got 11. Finally brought down by Tremaine Tyler in the secondary. Eddie Ware, originally a fullback. They moved him because Craig Lumpkin, who was supposed to be the tailback from day 1 this year, tore his ACL on day 1 of fall practices. So Lumpkin out for the year, and Ware steps in. This time he's had an impact carry other than the one that ended in the safety. This time it's Tyson Browning to the 45-yard line for Browning.
What South Carolina needs to do on defense is exactly what they've been doing. Talking with Rick Minner yesterday, want to play a lot of zone to protect the young guy. Simpson, who played his responsibility, as David Norrie told us so well just a moment ago, he understands zone principles. Don't put him in a man coverage situation unless absolutely necessary.
Rick Minner goes back all the way to Arkansas, 1978 with Lee Holtz, a grad assistant that year. That one gun too low. Incomplete, intended for Reggie Brown.
And Coach, the comment that you made about Rick Minner, you don't have to get those safeties involved as long as your front 7 is handling the run. So far, Georgia has not been able to hurt Minner's offense with the run. And so you can play those safeties back in a more conservative role. Georgia needs to establish a running game to get the talent on the outside, the wide receivers involved in play action.
A challenge again for Green to be heard on 3rd and 6. They need midfield. He's got plenty of time, and he's got the first down to the 47-yard line to Brian McClendon, a junior from Atlanta, son of Willie, the 1978 SEC Player of the Year, Willie McClendon.
To add a little bit to the defensive package for South Carolina, they really ought to utilize a stunt system on 3rd and long when they know Green's going to most likely throw the football, because stunts have given this Georgia front fits, both in the previous game against Georgia Southern and in this one. That time they just rushed straight, no pressure.
10-minute mark, 2nd quarter. Down 16-0. Big part of that deficit due to their own errors. Browning driven straight back from the line of scrimmage by Ricardo Hurley, the junior, quick striking outside linebacker.
Now, Hurley is having himself a football game here early. And South Carolina coming out, tackling aggressively. I really like the play of the front 7. They're sitting inside, the linebacking crew, reading their keys, and doing a great job of occupying blockers up front. This defense has really been tough against one of the more seasoned offenses you'll find across the country.
Green just 3 out of 9 through the year, 27 yards. And the Simpson interception. Return for a score. This is the fullback, Des Williams, and he's knocked out of bounds with a first down for Georgia at the 34. Gain of 11. How loud is it down there, Alex? Assuming you heard me throw it to you.
It's pretty loud down here, Dave. Now, of course, Coach Richt was aware that it was going to be loud. He says this is one of the toughest places, the loudest places to play in the SEC, but he was not worried about how David Green would handle the pressure of the noise. He was worried about how his youngsters would handle it. So as many teams do, they practice. There's a little of that noise. They practice with noise during practice this week. And I know, Coach Curry, you were there. You said it was really loud, but I guess you can't simulate real-time game day. You can practice, but you can't simulate it.
They give that one to the fullback, Williams, and then fake the end around.
Well, I'll tell you how loud it was, Alex. The trainers were coming up to those of us that were watching in the stands, scouts, people like me, and they were giving us gauze to stuff in our ears. They gave out earplugs to the assistant coaches, and it was painful. I mean, the decibel level was such that my ears really couldn't tolerate it very well. So I left. I took off. I'm not tough enough to do noise practices anymore.
If there's anybody that can handle noise at the line of scrimmage, it's David Green. Very poised and very good before the snap of the football.
Out of the gun, 2nd down and 7. Deflected. And if he has had a consistent problem, same thing here. Too high on the toss. Fred Gibson. Get ready for the game Monday night, 7:30 Eastern. ESPN Monday Night Countdown, and then catch the game on ABC as Jake Delhomme and the Super Bowl runner-up Carolina Panthers take on Brett Favre and the Green Bay Packers. Monday Night Football, 9 Eastern on ABC Sports Championship Television. 3rd and 7. And with a 7-man front, Green twice trying to be heard after breaking the huddle. Another high toss for Gibson, but this time he brings it in, and a first down for Georgia. 14 yards worth down to the 18. David Norrie, David Green doesn't tend to be wild high, but this is one of the few high balls that have been catchable today.
Well, he gets in rhythm on this throw, and on the outside, you have to play these wide receivers with respect. You have to give them cushion, and it's frustrating for South Carolina fans, but there are going to be a lot of easy pitch and catch situations outside with Fred Gibson.
The 11th play of this drive, by far the best we've seen out of the Dogs today. Wide open off the one-handed attempt of Martrez Milner. That was catchable, and Milner didn't appear to make the full effort required, did he?
Two things are going on. David Green is not his normally incredibly accurate self. The passes are just off slightly, but Gibson dropped one 2 plays ago, and now Milner simply puts out one hand and waves at it. That was a catchable ball. You lay out and you catch that football, Milner. That's what you learn.
Milner needed to drive through that. That's a pass that Ben Watson a year ago would gobble up and walk into the end zone.
Milner had one down the middle, 27-yarder last week. And the give to Browning, fooling nobody. Hit at the 16-yard line. An update again from Reese Davis on the Colorado-Washington State out west.
For the Buffalo defense in a 10-6 game, coming up with a play, Alex Brink picked off by Joe Sanders. A pick six put the Buffs up 17-6. Washington State answered with a touchdown pass. Still 8 and change to go there, 17-12. Notre Dame close to finishing it off, guys, up 16.
Absolutely amazing what Tyrone Willingham accomplished in 1 week's time. With a screen, Browning breaking one tackle, driven out inside the 10-yard line. So Tyson Browning featured on this series, junior out of Watkinsville, Georgia, who did not carry the ball at all last week.
Well, Jonathan Joseph, number 9 on the outside, is all alone, and he makes a heroic play. He doesn't make the tackle, but he slows down the ball carrier just enough for his troops to rally from the inside. It was a great job by Joseph to pick his way through and use the sideline as a teammate.
Jamacia Jackson prevented the first down, and so after missing from 47, a 26-yarder by Bailey, and this one is good, and it gets Georgia on the board. Had to have that. Their longest drive of the day. They settled for 3, but they make it 16-3 Carolina. Well, finally, the Georgia offense looks like the Georgia offense. 14-play drive, 71 yards, but Danny Ware headed toward their locker room. And toward the end of that possession, you saw Tyson Browning take over his spot at tailback.
Yeah, unfortunately, it looks like the Georgia offense of a year ago, because when they got in the red zone, they couldn't score a touchdown. That was the biggest problem that Georgia had last year. It was an emphasis the entire offseason. When we asked Neil Callaway, the offensive coordinator, what he did about it, they changed their practice schedule. They put it earlier in the week. They put it more in spring practice. And yet here in a very critical situation, they get down close and can't knock it in.
I actually meant that as a compliment. But you're more to the point, though, because that happened too often.
That's right.
Chances at 7 settling for 3. Troy Williamson on the return. We have already seen what he can do. And likewise for Thomas Davis. Just about separates him from his helmet. 32 yards on the return. Williamson, who has The 64-yard catch and run touchdown from Pinkins. This is going to be Pinkins' backup, Savell Newton, sophomore out of Wallace, South Carolina, who right now is in the game plan to get some action every week. He was 2 for 2 for 16 yards last week against Vanderbilt. And another run pass threat out of the gun to the 43-yard line and run down by the nose tackle Gerald Anderson. And the last 3 possessions for Carolina with Pinkins in control. 2 punts, but in the middle, Williamson took a pass thrown 7 yards by Pinkins and ran it 57 more on his own. And now Dondrel gets a chance to rest a bit. The 6-minute mark of quarter number 2. South Carolina capitalizing on Georgia mistakes. The story of this first half. Dacus Turman finding nothing there. David Pollock. Bill, you say the only way to handle him, you have to run right at him.
Well, yes, but you have to block him. And this is the second time today that we've seen Pollock unblocked at the point of attack, which is really inexplicable to me when the guy's the best football player on the field. And Pollock invariably is going to do something to bring up 3rd and long, which is his favorite thing, and now he can cut loose and rush the passer if indeed Newton is going to pass it.
3rd and 5. Newton, quarterback draw, barely back to the line of scrimmage. So the first series for Savell Newton is a quick one. Jarvis Jackson makes the tackle.
Well, this is classic Lou Holtz play calling, especially with the lead, and at times it isn't very pretty. I think the Gamecocks have done a great job on 1st down at times, but they have not followed up with solid 2nd down plays and have left their quarterbacks in passing situations. But one thing you can be sure of with Lou Holtz, he's going to take care of the football. Pinkins and Newton have both done a good job.
Very important that Tyson Browning make himself start handling these punts again. He's given up priceless field position on 3 occasions here in the first half.
Well, think about jumping back up on the horse that just threw him.
That's it.
Josh Brown. A returnable kick. Here's the old Tyson Brown. It spins and then takes it north-south straight ahead to the 37-yard line. 37-yard kick, and Browning brings it back to 15. Well, tonight, our doubleheader continuing here on ESPN, 8:45 Eastern. Cedric Benson and the Longhorns fresh on their minds the loss at Austin last year, but everybody who was around remembers 35 years ago, the game of the century. President Nixon, Billy Graham on hand as Jim Bertelsen hurdled over to cap a 15-point 4th quarter for the national champion Longhorns. And to this day, Arkansas fans who are allowed to see it talk about the pain it still causes them. Reggie Brown on this catch. In fact, there was talk that they were going to honor the 35th anniversary of that game. The Arkansas fans said, we don't want Texas players from '69 on our field.
We don't want those guys around here.
So they had a better idea. It's also the 40th anniversary of Arkansas's national championship team from '64, and those are the guys that decided on.
That ought to make it feel better. But Arkansas fans looking back on that big 4th down conversion by the quarterback, James Street. That was the story of the ballgame.
Street to Randy Peschel, 4th and 3 for 43 yards. Room up the middle. Michael Cooper, sophomore, on his first carry. Back to Reese Davis for an update.
David Miller studio update. Ohio State turned the ball over to Marshall, and Stan Hill made them pay. 8 and change to go in the 4th quarter. Hill finding Brad Bates, a senior, coming home to the state of Ohio, scoring the tying touchdown, 21-all.
Some people might still be surprised at that, but I'm not sure why.
Those guys are tough, that thundering herd.
Maybe we should all have learned that years ago by now. Fake out of the gun. Actually, they gave that one to Michael Cooper. And he's driven back shy of the 1st down. It will be 3rd and about 1.5 yards to go. as we're inside 3 minutes in the first half.
As you said, Dave Barnett, you can feel this Georgia offense starting to gain their rhythm. And you talk about Mark Richt and David Green at quarterback. It's going to take some time early in the season for this receiving core to get on the same page with Green. They lost a lot of production. Ben Watson at tight end, Michael Johnson, Damian Gary, over 90 catches. Even Craig Lumpkin, who's gone down with an injury, had 14 catches a year ago at tailback.
On 3rd and 2, Cooper right at the marker, driven out by Jamacia Jackson. And that ball is placed squarely on the yellow line, which never lies. So already looks to us and referee as well. First down.
But what a wonderful head across the bow tackle by Jamacia Jackson, the strong safety, the man that Lou Holtz described as having one foot in the grave and the other on a banana peel just a few months ago. He retrieved himself. He paid the price, working out on his own this summer, and now he's out here doing a great job for his football team. That was a heck of a tackle, even though the first down was made.
Remember, only one timeout left for Georgia. 2:23 to go. Slipping after he gets the handoff. Cooper coming up for a loss of at least 2 into the arms of Mo Thompson.
You can see Rick Minner, the defensive coordinator for the Gamecocks, starting to sneak a safety up to the line of scrimmage on run situations. One thing he doesn't want to see, positive yardage on first down, and I think that opens up some opportunities for David Green, especially with play action, to take advantage on first and second down, take a crack down the field to his talented wide receiver, Fred Gibson.
The O-line's going to see stunts. The last 2 times that they've gotten him, they've protected him well.
They call it a loss of 3 for Cooper. 2nd and 13, plenty of time, and over the middle, right near the first down marker, Brian McClendon makes the catch. He got 12 of the 13.
Because of our sky cam that's now doing its job properly, you get a chance to see the Georgia O-line do a marvelous job. All this traffic in here with the tackles crossing, that's tough to pick up. Nice job in there by Russ Tanner, Nick Jones, Max Sheen, Gillis. Nice job of picking up the stunt so the ball could be thrown.
Maybe the play of the first half right here. 3rd and 1. Carolina up 13 and wants it to stay a 13-point game at the half. But the carry by Des Williams will keep the drive moving. And the clock so far moving as well. Now they stop it at 48 seconds after the first down signal. We're 16-10, a totally different animal. That's what Georgia can manage at the half.
You took the words right out of my mouth. This is such a huge drive for both teams.
Green with the out pattern, and a catch by Gibson at the 20. Tremaine Tyler hit him. A gain of 8.
Really significant that Tyler was on the mark there and made the tackle in bounds. They forced Georgia to take their last time out. Nice job by Tyler. He wasn't laying off so far that Gibson could just step out of bounds.
So the last time out for the Bulldogs, 31 seconds to go. They've reached the 20, and they trail 16-3. On a 2nd and 3, David Green to Browning, breaks a tackle and is down at the 5-yard line. It's 1st and goal for the Bulldogs as the clock gets inside of 20 seconds. Taki Muhammad finally catches Tyson Browning.
This is great presence in the pocket. David Green's going to feel some heat on his back, but he drops it off. He places the ball on the proper side for Browning. Browning very tough in the open field.
Remember, no timeouts. Into the end zone and almost another Coe Simpson interception. If he gets the ball and keeps his feet, he has his 2nd touchdown of the first half.
I have never seen David Green make this many poor throws in a half, ever. And I've watched him play an awful lot of football. He is simply not reading his keys, David.
Well, when you look at this pass, this is a flat pass across the field. And again, you have to read the relationship of the defender on the receiver. Simpson breaks in a hurry. And I think David Green's going to start finding Simpson, or he's going to have another ball go the other way.
He's 10 of 19, 108 yards. Now a problem on the snap. He'll scramble and run out of bounds at the 8 with 5 seconds remaining.
I've got to tell you, all this work on the red zone by the Bulldogs in the offseason, it just gets ugly when they get down here. 2 really poor plays by their leader, their quarterback, on the last 2 snaps.
And Dave, just a huge stand right there. Such a big difference going into the locker room with the 16-6 lead as opposed to 16-10. Big win for South Carolina and their defense.
Pontiac high performance halftime report coming. Andy Bailey has a 26-yarder once and a 26-yarder twice. And at the end of the first half, Georgia had to get points somehow out of a drive that long, but they didn't want 3 again. 2 turnovers costing them 9 of the 16 points the Gamecocks have on the board. So shades maybe of this matchup in this stadium 4 years ago. Down to Alex Flanagan.
Coach Holtz, you said that your team was prepared coming into this game. Did you expect your defense to be so prepared?
Our defense has played well. I thought we'd play well. I didn't know we'd get all the big plays from our defense, but we've had them on the field too much. Our offense has to control the ball a lot more, but then again, we've had very poor field position.
How do you maintain the intensity that you came out with in the first half and the second half?
Well, we came to play the game for 60 minutes. We understand that. And, you know, Georgia's awfully good, but we just have to step up on offense, defense, kicking game. We made a few mistakes the first half, but overall, you know, it's down to a 30-minute game. It's not over by a long ways, but we're going to play well.
All right, Coach Holtz, thank you.
Well, he has made a career of upsets just like this one. He's halfway to one of his biggest over number 3 Georgia. We send it to Reese Davis in the studio. ESPN HD, high definition, and the 3rd largest crowd in South Carolina football history. 84,300 packing Williams-Brice Stadium. 16-6, South Carolina mostly happy as we get set to start the 3rd quarter. Lee Corso, you look like a prophet at this point.
Forget about it. It's only halfway over. You got to give a lot of credit to the defensive coordinator from South Carolina, Rick Minner. He's got a great defensive plan. In fact, if you look at it, South Carolina's defense is beating Georgia 7-6. But they look like they're getting tired. And looks like Green is starting to throw the ball better. Now, South Carolina offensively has got to get this ball to Williamson more. That guy's a great player, but they're tired.
Yeah. Tired means that's reverse psychology for bringing home the last 30 minutes. I think this is just a matter of, you're right, Rick Minner, the experience factor, I think, for South Carolina, taking advantage of the crowd. The speed, I think, has also helped South Carolina. If Georgia's going to get back in a game, they can't panic. I think they have to establish the run more. South Carolina's keeping their 2 safeties back. You've got to be able to win in the trenches for Georgia to be able to try to get back in this ball game and then go downfield, maybe later, Dave, to try to find Freddie Gibson. But David Green right now, a little bit unsettled down here on the field.
Doesn't look like himself. He's 10 for 19, 108 yards. The interception return for the touchdown. The Co-Simpson play of the day so far. And a 16-6 game. 2 turnovers, good for 9 Gamecock points, cashing them in. And Joey Bowers gets the second half underway. The return from the 10, Brian McClendon. And the Bulldogs start with their 32. 24 on the return. And our ESPN game track at halftime. Brought to you by Pioneer. First play from scrimmage. Danny Ware caught for a safety after a punt down near the goal line. 7 on the catch, 57 on the run after the catch by Troy Williamson. And then Co-Simpson announces exactly what he's capable of. Interception returns officially at 57 yards, 16-6, 9 points off turnovers. As Georgia starts the second half again with Tyson Browning, who took over about middle of the second quarter for Danny Ware at tailback. And in that second quarter, look at that total yardage, 137-6, and they got only 6 points out of it. So So two ways you can look at that. Mark Richt knows he can move the ball, and David, he started to see the rhythm return to his offense, but he does not know that they can cash in anything yet.
Well, Lou Holtz made a great comment to our Alex Flanagan at the end of the first half. He's worried about his defense running down.
Little swing pass for Michael Cooper, and his knees hit right at the 41-yard line.
You look at that second quarter. On one hand, Georgia was possessing the football, keeping the South Carolina defense on the field. But again, Rick Minner, the defensive coordinator, did a great job controlling the run game. Georgia only averaged 3 yards a carry in the first half, and they limited the big plays for Georgia's offense. In fact, the longest gain in the first half for David Green and his offense, only 16 yards.
So 3rd and 1. And Cooper got him beyond. He gets this first down at about 5 extra yards on his own. Finally wrestled down by the middle linebacker Marcus Lawrence. Down to Alex Flanagan.
Well, Dave, I spoke to Mark Richt during the half, and he said that he didn't know why David Green struggled in the first half. He said few words to him during the half just to settle down. I asked if he would pull Green if he didn't find a continuous rhythm and put in DJ Shockley. He said he didn't know at this point. Meanwhile, Danny Ware is out for the rest of the game. He has a chest contusion, Dave.
Well, the freshman who burst on the scene last week with 135 yards, 3 touchdowns, carried it 8 times for 41 yards today before that injury. That one intended for Leonard Pope. It'll be 2nd down and 10.
I know I'm like a broken record here, and I just keep seeing evidence that David Green is not himself. On the 2nd and short play a couple of minutes ago, he throws the ball in the dirt. Michael Cooper catches it. They lose yardage, so instead of 3rd and 2, they got 3rd and 3. Then they convert. Now he throws a little dump in the dirt. No completion. Coming up 2nd and 10. Very unlike David Green.
Well, he told us this week this would be a real test. If Georgia is the national title contender they really believe themselves to be, if they found themselves behind at a quarter or a half, and sure enough, that's what they had for themselves. So he turned into his own prophet. He says if we can't return from a deficit at South Carolina early in the season, maybe we're not all we thought we were.
Well, if you know David Green and you know Mark Richt, I don't ever see David Green getting pulled in this football game. David Green has come back so many times in the 4th quarter. He's out of rhythm, but this Georgia offense is starting to gain its rhythm and moving the chains.
5 of the last 6 have been converted on 3rd down for Georgia. Let's get an update from Reese Davis in the studio.
Dave, what a great finish at the Horseshoe. Marshall and Ohio State, a short Marshall punt gave the Buckeyes a last-second chance, and Mike Nugent, 55 yards out. Kicks like that will win you a Groza Award. It won the Buckeyes a game, 24-21 over Marshall.
Wow. What a way to end a game. 55-yarder in the Horseshoe there to hold off Marshall. And this game right now is following the script Lee Corso talked about before the game. David Green worried it might during the middle of the week. And we'll get a chance to see if Georgia is the #3 team in the country.
That's right. But Lou Holtz and Lee said something that's really true. This South Carolina defense has been on the field far too much. Their offense only has 2 first downs in the game.
And when South Carolina gets the football back, they've got to piece together some first downs. They have not done a good job of moving the chains. And Georgia, as we've seen in the past, 12-1 on the road under the Richt regime. It's only a matter of time with this ball club.
So they're drawn offsides. Mo Thompson and company. Max Gene Gillis might have on the Georgia offensive line.
Well, they were not drawn offsides, and what we're seeing is just the antithesis of what I saw in Thursday's practice in Athens. As I reported to our entire staff, this Bulldog team looked sharp. They looked like they were ready to play. I was so impressed with their work, and nothing I've seen today in this game reflects the work I saw Thursday. And that's why you see Mark Richt holding his hand over his eyes. He doesn't want to watch it anymore.
From their 45, they need to get to the 42. The Gamecocks over the middle, another near interception. This one in the hands of Oris Lambert, who dropped back from middle linebacker. That's one interception return for a score, two that should have been caught as interceptions.
Well, when Green has had success tonight, he's worked McClendon over the middle. This time, it's not clear whether he's going to his big tight end, Leonard Pope, or McClendon. I'll tell you what, Lambert had a great shot to not only make the interception, but he had a lot of green in front of him.
And Gordon, Ely Kelso on to punt it away to Troy Williamson. The one loss in an opponent home stadium at LSU last year. Georgia fans might feel some similarities at this point. Williamson driven back from the 20.
Guess who?
Reggie Brown.
No, Thomas Davis. Reggie assisted.
Reggie was in there. Whether they needed him or not.
Reggie got a flop on him.
Back in Columbia, the third largest crowd ever for Gamecock football. 84,300, 16-6. They lead number 3 Georgia. Dave Barnett with Bill Curry, David Dorey, Alex Flanagan on the sideline. 2 turnovers, accounting for 9 of the 16 Carolina points as they take over at the 21-yard line with flags. Dondrell Pinkins starts the second half at quarterback. Seville Newton got in just at the tail end of the second quarter.
Dead ball, false start on the offense. The offensive line, except for the center, went early. 5-yard penalty, first down.
Okay, what does that mean? The offensive line, except for the center. Bless his heart. You know what that means?
He's so smart.
That means John Strickland didn't snap the ball on the right count, or 5 other guys were wrong.
It can't be on the center. The smartest man on the field.
The most important player on the field, but I'm afraid when everybody else moves, they done got you, John. You got to hike it when you're supposed to, son.
On the roll, Pinkins. Cracking deep, open, over the middle. Troy Williamson inside the 30. "55 yards, he beat Tim Jennings again.
This is a beautiful ball, just an over-the-top post route. Williamson with the great speed. He's working against Tim Jennings, a fairly experienced cornerback, and what a ball.
Clearly the game plan of South Carolina is coming into focus now. They've got to run the ball better, but when they see man coverage, they send 82 Williamson deep, and Pinkins has been equal to the task of making the deep throws today.
2 of them to Williamson for 119 yards. That one off his back foot and almost picked off at the back of the end zone by Jennings. That would have been sweet revenge for Tim, who's been burned on both those Williamson catches.
When you spring an upset on a top 5 team, you need some luck. Pinkins has had at least 2 throws in this football game that he was lucky to get back. Pressure up the gut coming from Quentin Moses, but he threw that off his back foot. Could have easily been intercepted in the end zone.
Now Lou Holtz has been inside of Dondrell Pinkins' head, and as soon as he gets him back on the sideline, he's going to say, look, you just don't throw it where those white shirts are. You got to lead 82 away when there's no free safety, and only then.
Pinkins keeping to the 28. We go to Reese Davis.
All right, Dave, check in with California taking on New Mexico State. Tony Samuel's team up 7-6 in the second, but here come the Fighting Tedfords. Aaron Rodgers to Garrett Cross. Cal goes on top 12-7. Don't forget, the sturdy Golden Bears have a date Thursday night on ESPN with Southern Mississippi. Look what Indiana's doing to Oregon.
One up, one down for the Pac-10.
I guarantee you that second deep ball was Skip's idea. Skip Holtz.
Skip still calling the
plays. That's right.
And
have to go through Dad, though.
Luke in detail. This timeout, the second called in the first 4 minutes of the third quarter by the Gamecocks. So they're down to 1, and boy, they may regret having to use that one. Ugas looked at mostly some really disappointing football on the part of the number 3 team in the country. But after their second timeout call, 3rd and 9, maybe in 4-down territory for a South Carolina team, iffy on the kicker spot. And they swing it to Dacus Turman. He's going to be caught at the 27. It's going to be 4th down and 8. David Norrie, Bill Curry, with freshman kickers who are still in the process of trying to win the job, impressing Lou Holtz. Do you kick here?
Here's what you do. You better watch out if you're Georgia. Lou Holtz would have a fake. He would love to have a fake because, see, if he gets the touchdown here, they go up by 17. And that requires 3 scores to beat you. If he doesn't have enough confidence in this kid kicking a 44-yarder, watch out for a sophisticated fake here.
It is Charlie Carpenter, and sure enough, the fake complete. Flag, and then the ball is separated. So 3 teams to figure out here. First of all, a couple of flags. And was the ball caught before the flags? Which may make it moot regardless of what they're sorting out. So they do, in fact, run the fake. Bill Curry's time to be the prophet. Joey Bowers, the holder, rolling out and throwing to Corey Boyd at the 10-yard line.
Great call, Bill.
Well, it's a very logical thing to do. And if you've studied Lou Holtz and other great coaches like him, you understand that everything is a factor of the spread and the time remaining in the game, your confidence in your field goal kicker. Here's the call.
2 fouls on the play. Pass interference, number 3 of the offense. Holding, what number? 17 on the defense. Those penalties offset. Replay 4th down.
Offensive pass interference, Corey Boyd. Defensive holding, Greg Blue.
Coach Holtz
used your fake.
And Coach Holtz is going to send the field goal unit back. Here's what, watch the end of the play. Hard to see the contact early. Hard to see the pass interference or the holding. Offsetting penalties, and this surprises me a little, Coach, in that they would go back and with a walk-on kicker, first career field goal attempt, have him try a 44-yard.
Well, let's see if Lou's really got guts. See if he's got another fake. That would be awesome.
Sophomore out of Greenville. No fake here, and not even close. That one barely makes the end zone.
Probably should have tried the second fake.
Could have been worse. So still 16-6 South Carolina. They've used 2 of their 3 timeouts, and we're early in the 3rd quarter. Lou Holtz has had a difficult offseason, to say the least. One of the worst decisions I think any coach would have to go through would be one that involves your son, and in effect a demotion in his responsibilities. Although he tries to still emphasize the point that he respects Skip as much as ever, not making that an issue. Browning across the 40, and a first down for Georgia. Bill, having been in that position, can you imagine?
No, I can't imagine going home and facing Mama. That's what would scare me the most, facing Carolyn Curry if I demoted her son. I know Beth Holtz is such a wonderful person, but it's been a tough thing for the whole family. But according to Lou, Skip's handled it very well.
Well, and coaches go through that not only with family members, but offensive coordinators. And oftentimes when you have an offensive coordinator type coach and you go ahead and you have an offensive coordinator up in the booth, you're always going to have problems.
Browning, look at the 360 spin move.
And when I say you're always going to have problems, you're always going to have problems in terms of dedicating those responsibilities. And a lot of head coaches, as Lou Holtz does, tries to divide it or at least articulates it in that way, saying, hey, Skip sends the play down. That's the first play that's called. I've got a play in my head. I decide whether, hey, Skip, that's a good decision, or whether I go with my play depending on my veto power. And believe me, Lou Holtz has veto power.
And the decisions didn't just involve Skip. There were 4 members of the original Lou Holtz staff here let go 2 days after the 63-17 loss to Clemson. There are 4 former head coaches now on the staff, including Skip, who was at UConn as the head man. Reggie Brown with the catch at the 38-yard line, an 18-yard completion.
Now, David Norrie, you're starting to look very wise, because just as you said, here comes David Green starting to look like David Green.
Well, and David Green lost about 10 pounds in the offseason, and going into the bowl game a year ago, the Georgia coaching staff said they didn't like the way he had been moving over the course of the season a year ago. 41 sacks. He's lost some weight, and he sure looked good on the move on that last ball.
Georgia's been moving the ball like this since the beginning of the second quarter. They just have the 2 field goals to show for it. Michael Cooper chased all the way to the sideline by Marcus Lawrence and Rodriguez Wilson.
Now, as we said in the early going in the first quarter, what South Carolina needs to do is, if they can stay in a zone defense and handle the run, they're protecting their young secondary, and that's exactly what they're doing. Georgia has not been able to mount a significant running attack, even though South Carolina has not loaded up the box. You can't be a championship team if you can't run the football against 7 people.
Cooper lost 2. Second down and 12, and Green from the gun under pressure. One of his best passes is fumbled by Fred Gibson and then recovered. And they may get a few extra yards out of the recovery depending on where they mark this. I think they'll total 24 yards from Green to Gibson.
Well, a lot of great wide receivers headed on to the pros a year ago. Fitzgerald, the Williamses from Washington and Texas. You had Rashawn Woods down at Oklahoma State, and we get a great look at the athletic ability of Fred Gibson on that last play.
That's right. That dribble is a very difficult technique. I'd like him to show me that sometime.
What a play, though.
What in the world?
Another well-thrown ball. Well-thrown ball by David Green.
I'll give you that.
Mark Hurt said Fred Gibson definitely lost some focus last year, but was encouraged by his debut against Georgia Southern last week. Kind of lost focus in the middle of that play, and it still turned into 24 yards. Green on the scramble to the end zone, and incomplete at the back of the end zone, and Gibson, thankfully, is able to pluck himself out of those hedges.
Well, he's used to running into hedges. I mean, he plays between the hedges.
I still don't understand why only Georgia gets credit for playing between the hedges.
Because they said it first, and they say it all the time, and they make a big deal out of it.
Hedges here, hedges in Starkville. There's hedges all over the SEC.
But when you talk hedges, you talk Sanford Stadium first. And Gibson got a bit of a break on that last play. And this time,
doesn't that remind you of football in your backyard, though? How many times did that happen?
It does. We, growing up in a small house in a small yard.
And before we get a 2nd and 10, one of the officials in the back of the end zone with a brief question, and now says play on. And it's Browning cutting it back inside the 10. He's close to 1st and goal at the 6. Danny Ware out for the game. 8 carries, 41 yards, but a chest contusion in the second quarter, and so it's been Tyson Browning with the little Michael Cooper thrown in ever since.
We'll take a look at the red zone offense for Georgia. Bill Curry mentioned earlier in this football game so many problems, especially a year ago, but Georgia really starting to work with the rhythm, and there's so many times over the last 3 years with David Green at quarterback, he starts to move this ball club late.
Third, a little less than 1 for a first down. A flag is down as Des Williams hurdles ahead to the 2.
Yep, number 66, Dennis Rowland, the tight tackle. And Georgia continues to self-destruct, doing things in the red zone that really, really are incomprehensible.
On the offense, number 66. Repeat third down.
Dennis Rowland. And you know what? They've only had now 3 penalties, but they couldn't have picked worse times for those flags.
No, well, 2 of them have occurred in these situations in the red zone, and third and 7, whereas they would have had 3rd and 1. Just mind-boggling.
You have to crack open a whole new section of your offensive playbook. And the down and distance changes in that way.
They are discombobulated on offense for Georgia. That is really, really remarkable. And just playing right into this raucous crowd's enthusiasm, and as they raise their own team's level of enthusiasm and their performance.
Now, Mark Richt has some questions. He had called timeout and then sees the flag. So they're going to march back and be charged with their first timeout.
Well, and if he does get the timeout, regardless, David Green has to change his thinking in this part of the football field. He had 3rd and short. You're thinking touchdown, but now you want to pick up the first down. You want to pick up a touchdown, but you got that 3 points in your hip pocket. Make sure you cut this lead to at least 7 points.
Number 14 for Georgia, call timeout. We have timeout Georgia. There will be no penalty. It was timeout Georgia.
Yeah, they had signaled substitution infraction.
Signal substitution infraction.
But
Georgia
after the
was
timeout.
calling a timeout. And what Georgia did was to get that 5 yards back, because they got it called before they were able to enforce the substitution infraction, or able to actually announce it.
6:28 in the 3rd. We go from here to Fayetteville. And the second end of our doubleheader on ESPN, 8:45 Eastern. Texas, number 8 this time as they meet Arkansas, with revenge again on their mind after Cedric Cobb's romp to a 38-28 win in Austin last year, ending a 20-game home winning streak for the Longhorns. Arkansas planted its flag on the field at Darrell Royal Texas Memorial Stadium. And Ron Franklin pointed out at halftime, there is a great chance that those 2 teams, with all the history they have, may never play again unless somehow they are brought together in a bowl situation. They are not scheduled anymore for the regular season. So one of the great series in the histories of any conference, maybe climaxing at Arkansas tonight before 70,000 plus. When we finish up here in Columbia, we got plenty of business to take care of too. 6:28 in the 3rd. Georgia with a 3rd and 6 at the 12 of Carolina. Green straight back. Now the swing for Browning. Looks for a block and a cutback. Browning, touchdown.
What's the flashback that comes to your mind? LSU a year ago, if you're an SEC fan, Georgia or LSU fan, from deep in their own territory, Georgia got back in that game with a 93-yard screen to Browning, who runs those things so beautifully. He hasn't had a great day catching punts, but he is a wonderful screen runner. If you're a big guy out front, you love those cuts.
The extra point, and it's 16-13. Andy Bailey connects. Little 5'8", 163-pound Tyson Browning, who did not get a carry last week, has been bothered by a hyperextended knee. In for the injured Danny Ware, and he has brought the Bulldogs within 3. In the only road loss under Mark Richt, Tyson Browning at LSU had the only touchdown last year for Georgia, a 93-yard catch and run. This one he had to go just 12 yards. And he makes it 16-13 South Carolina. Georgia finally, David Norrie, gets 7.
A terrific job after the catch by Tyson Browning, but watch the quarterback sell the pass here. This is great execution by David Green. He looks down the center of the field, gives the lineman time to release, and then the cutback by Browning at the 5-yard line.
3 marvelous blocks. Very rarely do you see Nick Jones, Russ Tanner, Max John Gillis, 3 big guys, all get big hits downfield. Beautiful job. That's where you call home and say, Mama, did you see the screen? She says, were you in there on that, son? So we called your name, man. Great job of blocking.
South Carolina now in serious need of a serious drive. They've not been able to sustain much. Good start here, though. Leaping catch for a first down for Troy Williamson.
Nice job. Man coverage. Get the out cut. Really good job. Nice route by Troy Williamson. Obviously, Demario Mentor has watched Williamson run enough. He knows he's going to give him some cushion and a first down. And an adequate throw by Dondrell Pinkins, who's made more than adequate throws in this game.
Third catch by Williamson. One for the touchdown. Really set the tone for this game. A 65-yard catch and run. And Demetrius Summers back on the field after limping off 1 carry into the day. His second carry. He runs right to Thomas Davis, who wrestles him down with a flag down. A yard away from a first down.
Wrestling down with a face mask, too.
Well, Lou Holtz talked about Demetrius Summers and how he watches for what his backs and his wide receivers do without the football.
Incidental face mask, number 31 on the defense. 5-yard penalty from the end of the line. It'll result in a first down.
But in the same breath, Lou Holtz said that Summers is clearly the best runner with the football.
He's also clearly hurt. Both times he's carried the ball. Both touches tonight have resulted in this. Their prize recruit from a year ago, Parade All-America, limping to the sideline.
Yeah, that really is so unfortunate. Brings me to the rest of my Alex Hawkins scouting report. He says that Summers is a true big league #1 draft choice type back. You hate to lose a guy like that.
So Davis caught with a face mask up to the 47-yard line. Pinkins swarmed and just falls forward to salvage a loss of just 1.5 yards. Pinkins is the picture of efficiency tonight passing. 6 of 8, 145 yards, a touchdown, no interceptions.
Now, David Norrie, what would calculate the passing efficiency number for that, big man?
I know it's somewhere north of about 130, but one thing's for certain. I think that this game is either going to be won or lost with the passing game with Pinkins at quarterback.
Play fake. Wanted to heave that one, and instead he almost coughed it up. Pressured by Quentin Moses.
Well, I think that you may be right. If it's one, it will be with him throwing the football, but I also think there must be a supplement in the run game, because these pass rushers, when Pollock and his mates can lay their ears back and rush the passer, knowing that it's got to be all pass, it won't be pretty.
In the second and third quarters, Georgia has outgained South Carolina's offense 233 yards to 91. And again, Pinkins wanting to go deep, sacked way back at the 37. David Pollock, the 2-time All-American.
Okay, this is what I'm talking about. This was just a 3-man rush now. Pollock got there, and so did his mate on the other side of the ball, Quentin Moses, number 94. They've just got too much quickness for these big linemen from South Carolina. They're not athletic enough to handle that kind of pass rush when the Bulldogs know what's coming.
Joey Bowers punt to the 13, and Tyson Browning, when he has fielded punts tonight, has seen disaster, sometimes near disaster. 50-yarder instead of letting this one bounce. First one way back in the first quarter, he muffed, and Georgia's had trouble ever since. Yeah. Tonight on ESPN HD, High Definition, sponsored exclusively by Phillips and Best Buy. 16-13, South Carolina upset-minded against number 3 Georgia, but the Bulldogs dominating everywhere but the scoreboard since the second quarter. The South Carolina offense has hit one big play. They've scored 9 points off 2 Georgia turnovers. And Tyson Browning, after getting the Georgia touchdown, starts this drive. Gain of about 5, and the tackle by Daryl Shropshire. Tomorrow, 11 a.m., NFL Countdown, the first from our new high-definition studio, and then tomorrow night at 7:30 Eastern, first NFL primetime on ESPN HD. Followed by the Chiefs and the Broncos, also on high definition, again sponsored by Phillips and Best Buy. A 4-day opening weekend of NFL football. Weekend number 2 of college football. Great one tonight in Columbia. Bulldogs get it outside to Reggie Brown. They have a first down. They are moving the ball just about any way they want it now after the early turnovers had them coming from behind, and they're still not done in that department, Bill Curry. No, but at least they look like themselves.
That's right.
Now.
And when they got in the red zone last time, they had an answer. They had a nice screen, and they took it in the end zone. They didn't have to settle for a field goal attempt. Very important.
The starting tailback's injured. Danny Ware, chest contusion. That one dropped by Reggie Brown. And his counterpart, Demetrius Summers, we just saw limp off after his second carry of the day. The same thing happened after his first carry on the first play from scrimmage.
I'm telling you, I am just buffaloed. I sat at practice Thursday. Reggie Brown caught everything. Gibson caught everything. Everybody caught everything. I mean, good gosh, the tight ends, 3 of them caught everything. And tonight, they're just batting the ball around, dropping it on the ground. It's not the same group.
David Green now 16 out of 29, 183 yards, a touchdown and an interception, and that one off the fingertips of Brown.
Well, I mean, Dave, that hit him in the hands. I mean, you're being nice to him. That was the palms of his hand.
Fingertips are part of the hand.
Thank you.
Well, Reggie Brown working against a squat corner. This is a fade route. This is a tough catch, but the ball is put right in the place that David Green wants it. And now you watch David Green in the pocket. I'm really impressed here in the second half. He's starting to throw off that back foot. On first down, he picked up the corner blitz. The ball was dropped by Brown, but most importantly, David Green is back in rhythm.
Georgia with another 3rd and long to convert, but they've been converting just about all their 3rd downs since the first quarter. And again, lots of time for Green, and he overthrows Fred Gibson. David, wild high. What do you see, if anything, in his motion?
Well, that's an easy throw for a top-notch quarterback at the college level. He had a post-corner route, had a great picture. You drop that football into the hole to the outside, make the football behave for you. That is not like David Green. And David Green gives South Carolina a big break on this play. Drops back, gets great protection, gets set, and misfires by about 4 or 5 yards.
So Gordon, Ely, Kelso to punt. 2:38 in the 3rd quarter. Troy Williamson. 3 catches, 131 yards, and a touchdown. Will come up and let this one go over his head and take a huge bulldog bounce down to the 13. That is a 60-yard punt by Ely Kelso. NFL kickoff weekend continues tomorrow night. ESPN Sunday Night Football. Priest Holmes and the Chiefs. Champ Bailey, the new Denver Bronco. Chiefs Broncos also available, as we said, in high definition on ESPN HD. Call your cable operator, DirecTV, or the Dish Network today. Our coverage begins at 7:30 Eastern with NFL Primetime, and then Chiefs Broncos. South Carolina, after its first drive, lasted a little over 4 minutes. None of their next 7 possessions have lasted longer than 2 minutes and 43 seconds. This one starts with Corey Boyd and about 9 yards.
David Pollock, the human highlight package, continues to make plays in this not very loudly announced, but he's there early in the game, unblocked in the run game. Now he fights through a double team to make a play in the backfield, and then an arm under with a great spin move and right into quarterback's face. Dondrell Pickens on the ground because of the two-time All-American David Pollock.
Had to decide whether to return for his senior season or go to the NFL. He says returning the best decision he has ever made. I'm not ready for the NFL. I couldn't even do my laundry last year. His own words.
Yeah, and Jarvis Jackson is having a career game. That's unofficially, that's the 9th individual tackle that we have Jarvis down for. Started at middle linebacker in place of Odell Thurman, and he has been electric. He's been all over this football field.
If there was a major question mark coming into this football game, it was the linebacker core. Wow, you talk about taking on a running back in the backfield. Head up, and he brings the helmet all the way. Great penetration in the backfield, and then the wrap up by Jackson.
Lucas Terman, the victim, and now 3rd and 5. Rolling pocket, Corey Boyd needed to make the first man miss, and he couldn't get away from the first man, Tim Jennings, who has been burned a couple of times tonight, but he holds his ground here. Who will ever forget 2 years ago this matchup, this stadium, and this result? David Pollock, the strip, they called it officially an interception.
That's the shortest interception in the history of the NCAA. And the thing about listening to David describe that is after this play, let me tell you about that.
Another one of these low line drive punts where they count on about 10-15 yards at least to bounce. It'll bounce dead of the 43 and a 40-yard punt. David Pollock, took a while for him to get a chance to enjoy that replay that we just enjoyed on his own. When he saw it, he finally said, that was awesome. I love that.
He enjoys it, but he enjoys everything about life. He enjoys practice. But we asked him about that play, and he said, I really didn't expect that to happen, but I looked and I saw the ball, so I just pulled it in. Now, that's not a normal human being. I wouldn't have seen it. It would have fallen to the ground.
You don't see athletes at that position that can play like that. And I think the numbers, even though he had a great year 2 years ago, he had shorter numbers in terms of sacks a year ago, and that played into him sticking around for next year.
Michael Cooper giving Tyson Browning a well-earned breather. Last year's Georgia rushing leader, 709 yards. And they've had to do it without Danny Ware for most of the game, and they've been coming from behind the entire game. Still within 3, fourth quarter to come. So we're ready for the fourth quarter in Columbia. 84,300, third largest crowd in Williams-Brice Stadium history. Dave Barnett, David Norrie, Bill Curry, and Alex Flanagan. A 16-13 South Carolina lead, but Georgia moving almost at will in the middle 2 quarters. Green moving and finally has to throw that one away. And it'll be 3rd and long. George Gauze and Ricardo Hurley chasing Green. And Bill and David, we sat in Lou Holtz's office yesterday, and we heard him talk about an issue that he thought he had solved after back-to-back winning seasons ending in New Year's Bowl. And it's right back in his lap again. How do you win games like this?
Well, you have a losing culture. Everybody in this stadium dressed in black is trying to figure out, well, what's Georgia going to do to score? We know they're going to score. If that permeates the squad, then you're in deep, deep trouble, because Georgia expects to score. That's what the winning expectation is. So very interesting time in the Lou Holtz experiment right here.
Green batted down. Jason Capers.
And you look at South Carolina's strategy. They're basically playing against a nickel package. Georgia's playing against a nickel package, and they don't have an answer with a screen. Bill Curry Jr. happens to be here, and I happen to respect his football opinion. So I said, what's going on? He said, they're trying to screen against essentially an 8-drop defense, and there's nothing there. Very interesting.
Capers battling with Max. Gene Gillis still had a free hand to end that Georgia third down effort. So on fourth down, back Gordon Ely Kelso to punt to Williamson, standing at his 12. Good high kick, sideways hop this time, and the Gamecocks will start at the 22. Get an update first from Reese Davis in the studio.
The Heisman Trophy winner has his offense purring. Oklahoma against Houston already up 28-7. Jason White up top to Brandon Jones. Touchdown, second touchdown pass for White. Houston actually had a 7-0 lead in this game. Staying in the state of Oklahoma, Tulsa and the Pokes locked up at 7 late in the first half.
Still have a hard time believing that the Houston team we saw in the Hawaii Bowl last year, Bill, lost scoring one touchdown last week against Rice. They've already got one against OU, but now
rivalry game. I mean, anything can happen in a rivalry. And Kenny Hatfield's a great football coach.
Dinkins with the give to Dacus Turman. And we try to figure out, Alex Flanagan, what is the second injury problem for Demetrius Summers?
Well, Dave, as you all remember, he injured his ankle in the first play of the game. The good news was that ankle wasn't broken or fractured. Bad news is he injured it again. Same ankle. He has his shoe off. He's icing it. He will not return in this game, saying that it is just too sore to play on it, Dave.
Well, that's what we feared. 2 carries and 2 limp-offs. Had a short night, but they do have Boyd and Turman. Bonzi Gray has seen some action. Probably the deepest spot on the entire roster. On the roll. First time they look for Brian Brownlee, the tight end, and it's off his hands at midfield.
I got to tell you, David Norrie, that's a nice throw.
That is a nice throw, but as one of my old coaches at UCLA said, you don't lead receivers in the hard spots. This is a young tight end. He's a converted defensive player. And watch Minner, number 2 for Georgia. He's waiting right there to deliver a blow. And I agree with you on that, Bill. That's a play that you got to count on your tight end coming down with. You got to expect the contact, and he flat out dropped that ball before contact. A great throw by Pinkins.
Gamecocks only 2 of 10 on third down conversions. They have only 5 first downs all night. Pinkins retreating. That almost turns into a pick, and 6 points for Danny Verdun Wheeler.
Well, Danny, when they get into team films and the tapes, your buddies are going to remind you that your hands belong on a clock, and that's why you're a linebacker, and all those things that linebackers have to listen to when they drop sure touchdown passes. That would not be an easy catch, but linebackers practice those kinds of drills where you tip that one up in the air, pull it in, take it in the end zone, and go to the house.
Well, how much can the South Carolina defense stand? They have spent almost the entire middle 2 quarters on the field. It doesn't look like much is about to change here in the fourth. Bowers, low driving punt. Rugby style, goes a total of 40 yards. Georgia ball at the 38. 13:38 to play. Well, Georgia's still down 3, but the South Carolina defense has been on the field now. This will be the 60th snap by the Georgia offense. And the give is to Tyson Browning. Looks for cutback room. Nothing there. He's going to lose 3. The Carolina offense has snapped the ball an amazingly low number of times, just 36 total plays. But after giving up 9 points on a pair of turnovers, Tyson Browning finally capped a Georgia drive with a touchdown. David Pollock, his usual unblockable self. And the Georgia defense has allowed only 186 yards. 2 of 11 third down conversions for the Gamecock offense. Offsides call. Going to move it up to the 43-yard line and make it a 1st and 5 for the Bulldogs. Again, Browning. Maybe a yard this time.
Well, 2 years ago, David Green led his team to a 13-win season, an SEC championship, and a Sugar Bowl championship. But what really put him on the map, the national map, 2 years ago, was his ability to bring his team from behind in the fourth quarter. 5 fourth-quarter comebacks, including 3 against ranked teams, Auburn, Alabama, and Tennessee. And who will forget, he gets a drop there, a fumble after the catch by Gibson, but who will forget the game, 4th and 15 against Auburn, a touchdown, and once again, David Green, the seasoned quarterback, facing a deficit in the fourth quarter.
2nd down 4, a little floater over the middle. Gibson jukes his way to midfield, and another Georgia first down. They're 17th compared to 5 for the South Carolina offense. How much can you put on a defense? Mark Richt's offense has been on the field, it seems like, the entire 2nd and 3rd, and now what we've seen so far of the 4th quarter.
Well, when you look down there and you see those hands on the hips and some of the hands on the thigh pads, leaning over and the heavy breathing, these kids are tough, they've practiced hard, but they are getting tired.
And he wear out with a chest contusion after just 8 carries tonight. Michael Cooper moves the pile to the 47 of the Gamecocks. Ware, who became the first true freshman tailback to start a season opener for the Bulldogs since 1943 last week. And he didn't just start, he scorched Georgia Southern with 135 yards and 3 touchdowns. So when you do something at tailback at Georgia that Herschel Walker never did, Garrison Hurst never did, Terrell Davis, on and on and on, Rodney Hampton, Tim Worley, that will live in the memory of everybody that follows that program. They don't apparently think this is a real serious injury, but he's obviously done for this day. And Tyson Browning and company have taken over. That one goes 10 yards. 37-yard line where Takeem Muhammad and Marcus Lawrence have a hit.
I don't think we can overemphasize the emotional and the cerebral aspect of what's going on here. You got a program that's accustomed to winning. You got a program that's accustomed to losing, with a coach in Lou Holtz that's attempting to change the culture. There's a sort of a anticipation in this station and in this stadium, a negative anticipation. What are they going to do to us? The players have to fight through that for South Carolina.
Green almost fumbled by Cooper, and he cuts it back in the clear inside the 15 and run out of bounds at the 13-yard line. Jamacia Jackson, a near fumble, and he turns it into 24 yards.
And this is great execution in the backfield by David Green. And this is almost a fumble in the backfield. The mesh, Cooper almost lays the ball on the carpet, but a good job to regain control. The misdirection, and give Neil Callaway, the offensive coordinator, big credit in the second half. He's done some great things to free up Cooper and Browning in space for Georgia.
Here is what, well, we're about to see the spike by Cooper and the unsportsmanlike conduct flag that resulted.
Just unbelievable, amazing mistakes by both these teams. If there's a celebration rule, you may not like it, but son, it's the rule. So you follow the rule. Now look, instead of having the ball down there in the red zone, they're sitting out here 1st and 10 at the 28-yard line. Inexcusable.
Back to Browning. Oh, what a cutback instinct he has.
The black shirts are still running to the football, but they're not wrapping up. We saw George Goss miss an easy tackle on Cooper. He was free in the backfield, as David Norrie was describing the near fumble on the previous draw play. And now you see the black shirts again. They're giving great effort, but they just aren't quite as sharp as they have been earlier in the game.
Yeah, their effort really jumps out at you, but with this pursuit and the numbers they're using up on the line of scrimmage, it's only a matter of time before Green goes outside to his talent on the perimeter.
Browning, 11 carries, 54 yards. To the end zone, wide open, Reggie Brown, and Georgia has its first lead of the night, 22 yards from Green.
And there's your answer. South Carolina people waiting for the hammer to fall, and there it is. A little play action. Beautiful job of faking. You'll have to agree with that, David, by David Green, and then a perfect throw.
A masterful execution in the backfield, and numbers on the line of scrimmage for South Carolina. Great sell by Green. Easy pitch and catch.
Andy Bailey with the extra point. After Reggie Brown's second touchdown catch of this young season. Green has struggled. He's not looked like himself. But he has finally completed the comeback. And with 9:56 left, 20-16 Georgia. Not only do we have ourselves a great game, we have a psychodrama for those who had pulled themselves away from the Cockabooses. And Georgia coming from behind all night long, finally on top for the first time. 20-16, Reggie Brown from 22 yards from David Green. Everything Lou Holtz is about as South Carolina's head coach now will be in front of us, played out, as Matthew Thomas returns this kick, and he returns it nicely out to the 25-yard line. Can they respond to their first deficit of the night?
On the replay, Georgia having a lot of success with the run game, starting to affect the safeties. And watch the freeze it right here. The ball hidden right in the pocket, and watch the effect it has on Jamacia Jackson, the safety. He bites on the fake. Brown right across his face, and a perfectly thrown ball by Green.
Absolutely imperative now that they keep David Green over there for a series or two at bare minimum, even if they don't get points this drive. Since the first quarter, Green has run 58 plays. South Carolina has run 22.
That's right. This is what Coach Holtz has been teaching the men to do. Fight back in the adversity. But believe in yourself despite all the prevailing memories of all the years. And here we are with a flag on somebody. I didn't see what it was.
Well, the 25-second clock expired.
Delay of game, number 5 offense.
Wow.
5-yard penalty, first down.
Fatigue, lack of confidence is displayed in a variety of ways. It's not always missed tackles or falling on the ground. It's the thought processes. In fact, science tells us that the first thing to go is your eyes get fatigued and you start to drop balls and see things incorrectly. Then maybe you don't think about the 25-second clock when you're the quarterback. Little details that have to be buttoned up.
So they start with a 1st and 15. Donzie Gray in the backfield. And Gray gets about 5 yards out of it. Plenty of time. 9:40 to go. They have only one timeout left. Let's check in with Alex Flanagan.
Well, Dave, things are cooling down here on the field, but Troy Williamson, wide receiver for South Carolina, is out right now with cramping in his hamstring. They're massaging it and try and get him back on the field, Dave.
Well, really hard to see them coming back without him. He's been the one offensive weapon that Georgia has not been able to deal with. Leading rusher for the Gamecocks, that's 15 yards. That's Corey Boyd. There's an end around Matthew Thomas. Driven out. 33-yard line, and he'll bring up a 3rd and 4. DeMario Minter chased him out.
Dave, that's a great observation. Williamson, really the only way this offense has made yards. Great ball faking and wizardry in the backfield by Pinkins. But as I said earlier in the half here, I think that Pinkins is going to have to get it done if South Carolina is going to come back, both with his feet and his throwing ability. Tough to get that done if Williamson is on the bench.
Carolina 2 for 11 on 3rd down conversions. But they'll get this one. Pinkins with a strike. Chris Clark, 12 yards. And a Reese Davis update.
All right, Dave, Penn State and Boston College underway, and BC marching down the field. Paul Peterson buying a little time. He finds Dave Pichetta. Nice grab in traffic. Boston College on top of the Nittany Lions by a touchdown early.
All right, Reese, 8:13 and counting. Another short pass by Pinkins and incomplete as Minter comes up for another hard hit, this time on Michael Flint.
Quentin Moses, the big defensive end, dropping back into pass coverage and almost got a piece of that pass.
Defensive coordinator Brian Van Gorder, winner of the 2003 Broyles Award as the top assistant in the country. Last year, 4th nationally total defense, 2nd nationally scoring defense. They have given up only 209 yards tonight. Pinkins on the scramble, too tall for Matthew Thomas. A dangerous throw, but one he still comes pretty close to hitting.
Looking ahead for Lou Holtz and his very combative and very courageous football team here in South Carolina, playing against one of the top teams in the nation. This can be a seminal moment if they can just dig down, find it in themselves to play their hearts out, regardless of the way this game comes out. Win or lose, you can look back on this as a big step forward.
Do you really think that? You really believe if they lose, that's a step forward? I think they'll look at it.
Well, that's if he's successful in the way he's teaching, they will.
Pinkins, all kinds of room. He looked up, nothing but green ahead, and he takes it 17 yards.
It will mean a great deal more if they can get the victory, and they are certainly very much in this football game.
The decision-making of an experienced quarterback. Georgia going with man coverage, freeze it right here. Look at just the alleyway that opens up, and a great decisive move by Pinkins from the pocket. It's the timing that he used when he tucked the football that meant first down on that play.
And with that, he becomes the leading rusher on the night for the Gamecocks. 17 of his 21 yards on his 12th carry. On the quarterback draw, right up the middle again, and he slides for a gain of 8. So Dontrell Pinkins ready, it appears, to take this thing over if he has to, win it by himself.
Well, this is the single wing tailback with a marvelous block by number 32, Dacus Turman. It wasn't pretty, but it was effective. We call that a Susan B. Anthony block. Looks like a quarter, but it's worth a buck. He didn't exactly butt him up, but he sure got him out of the play.
David, he's got lots of those. You will hear more where that came from. 2nd down and 2. Corey Boyd, first man on the ground. Corey Boyd out of bounds at the 20, and suddenly an effective Carolina offense. 12 yards on the catch and run by Boyd. 6:48 to go, 84,300. 3rd largest crowd in Williams-Brice Stadium history. South Carolina taking 2 first-half turnovers by Georgia, turning them into 9 points, and they had led almost the entire game, even though they've been outgained 350 to 234 in total yardage. Georgia has run 66 plays to only 44 plays by Pinkins and the Carolina offense. Finally on the move for the first time since the first quarter. Pinkins keeps again and driven back from the 13. Ball might have been loose at the bottom of the pile. It is a Georgia recovery. And Pinkins is slow getting up after he coughed it up at the 13-yard line.
Well, we talked about Pinkins having to play an error-free game. Couldn't have come at a more critical time. Greg Blue, all game long, we've watched Thomas Davis and Greg Blue, big hitting safeties, and let's listen in on this hit. I mean, that is like a ton of bricks. Number 17, Greg Blue. You talk about bringing it. Greg Blue brings the helmet, finishes off Pinkins. Huge turnover.
First turnover of the game by the Gamecocks. Looked like a recovery for Arnold Harrison. It was 6:39 remaining. Back to work, Green in the offense. Incomplete on the out, intended for the tight end, Martrez Milner.
I'll tell you, David Green and Mark Richt, Neil Callaway have got to be so disappointed with their tight ends I mean, that ball is, that would not have been an easy catch, but Martrez Milner does not look like the same person that practiced Thursday. You lay out, you put your hands on the football, you look in the tip, and you pull it in. You make those catches if you're a big-time tight end.
David Green is so used to having Benjamin Watson, an agile, big, active, athletic tight end. And we saw on Thursday night, the Monday night edition Thursday night, how Ben Watson, New England Patriots got him involved several times on the opening drive of the game.
Second time out, and Green has tried to go twice to Martrez Milner tonight. 2 catchable balls. He has brought in neither. Timeout, 6:34 left. Well, this has been a great one. Still 6:34 to go, and we follow this with another bit of rivalry action from an SEC school. In this case, former Southwest Conference opponents, Texas and Arkansas, right when we're done, 8:45 Eastern. Green on the play fake. And the dump over the middle. That might end up in a turnover at the bottom of the pile. Gamecock signal they've recovered it. So they are considering it evidently at least a complete pass, and it is a fumble recovery for Carolina.
Number 46, Marcus Lawrence, squatting on the little curl pattern over the middle, knocks the football loose, and they take it right back over. Everything Lou Holtz is about, everything he's trying to imbue his team with, is involved in this fourth quarter. If they come away with a win, wonderful. If they don't, the lessons are still being heard because the team refuses to give in. Fatigue really does make cowards out of everybody. Lombardi was right about that, but these guys are continuing to fight and scratch and hit.
Browning on the fumble caused by Marcus Lawrence and recovered by Ricardo Hurley at the 16-yard line. And back to work out of that single wing tailback look. Following this turnover goes Pinkins. Listen up to the reason Browning coughed it up. My only question was, did he catch it? And none of the officials seem to have any question. Did you? Up here, 2nd down and 11. Swing pass, Turman. Boy, every hit now delivered by a Georgia defender.
Yeah, let me give credit where it's due, and let me hasten to add to my previous remarks about South Carolina. Georgia's not quitting either. Their kids are fighting so hard. They've played so well defensively on an off night for their offense.
Was that a catch? Did he have it long enough for it to be a fumble?
Well, you'd have to take another look or two at it, but I'll tell you what, the hit was big time. And my question here is Pinkins affected by the hit he took on the prior drive? His leadership showed me he can win the football game, but I wonder if he's got some remnants left of that hit by Blue.
4 wides. 3rd and 8. Low catch by Boyd, and because it was underthrown, he didn't get the first down.
Yeah, if he keeps Boyd up on that ball, Boyd picks up the first down. Not
well,
a
they're going to have to
ball.
go for it. They got to go for it here. You don't kick it here, because the odds on them driving back down the field and getting a shot at another field goal are not good. So you go for it here.
And they got brand new kickers anyway. No question.
Yeah, that's another point. I'm not sure that Coach Holtz would have tremendous confidence in his kickers at this point.
And this is why Coach Holtz is one of the top 10 winningest coaches of all time. He made that decision almost instantly. He knows he doesn't want to have to look at the Georgia offense one more time and score again after David Green has the football.
So the last time out called here by Lou Holtz to talk about a 4th and 1, and they're given this opportunity. Look at it again. Did he have it long
I think
enough?
that's a catch. I think that's a catch.
Definitely a catch.
He had both hands around the football, both feet squarely on the ground. Well-timed hit. And David Green is trying to be safe with the football here. Just a little drop down. What a hit to shake the ball free.
Let's get a quick update from Reese Davis.
All right, guys, Oklahoma is just opening up a can on the backside of Houston. But here's a little piece of history. Antonio Perkins will take the punt and take it all the way back. 8th time in his career. That ties the NCAA record, also held by Texas Tech's Wes Wellington.
Rather predictable there, Norman. Here in South Carolina, since Lou Holtz took over with a winless 1999, he thought in 2000 and 2001 he had turned a perennial loser into a program that was ready to win the close ones year after year. The last 2 years have proven otherwise. He jettisoned 4 assistant coaches 2 days after closing last year with a 63-17 loss to Clemson. Can they erase some of those recent bad memories? Pinkins after the fake, fighting. Did he get the first down?
The officials are right there to mark the ball. They were in perfect position, and it's going to be very close.
I think he's short.
I think he's short too, and boy, not because he didn't sell out on it.
DeMario Minter, Jarvis Jackson, Danny Verdun Wheeler, all converged. Otherwise, the big 250-pound quarterback would have easily barreled past one tackler.
Georgia ball.
And of such stands are championships made. You get in a game where you haven't played particularly well on offense, you make mistakes in the kicking game, you turn it over late, they're inside your 10-yard line, and somehow you get them stopped. Now, let's see if the Georgia offense can earn its keep and make some first downs and use the clock.
It looked initially on that play like it was a great play call. Pickens came out naked, free, but what a job by the Georgia defenders in pursuit to just stone him before the change.
And DeMario Minter gives up about 50 pounds to Pinkins. Holds him off the first down marker. From their own 6, the Bulldogs try to run out the last 5 minutes, and they start with Michael Cooper up the middle.
Needless to say, this is precisely what the Bulldogs need to do. They need to put the hat right on Nick Jones, Russ Tanner, Max John Gillis, Dennis Rowland, Daniel Inman, those big guys up front, and say, men, now it's on you. You knock them back, make some first downs, and run this clock out.
Those of you tuning in thinking it's about time for Texas-Arkansas kickoff, we will go there next. 4:24 and counting. And a 2nd and 3 for Georgia. Another give to Cooper, who spins at the line of scrimmage. It'll be 3rd and short.
But a nice play by Shropshire. Darryl Shropshire, number 57. Just good basic football. Defeated the blocker, shucked him off, came off, made the play actually for a small loss. Now you have a little conversation with Cooper, your running back, and you don't dance in the hole at this time. You whip it up in there, you drag them, and you make a first down, securing the football.
Plenty of time for South Carolina. They've burned timeout, so it's a huge play right here. South Carolina doesn't hold. Georgia can burn this clock inside 2 minutes.
Green has to scramble. Not his strong suit. Looks upfield and tries to hit Gibson. Incomplete at midfield. And a Gamecock defense that has not had very many stops. Not many 3-and-outs to look to tonight. Finally, they turn one in.
Here's a very important kicking game consideration. South Carolina's done very poorly with their punt returners tonight. They're all skittish. They let the ball hit the ground. If I were Lou Holtz, I'd go after this one. I'd go after this big time. Normally, you would want to return this. I don't think so here. The returners haven't been effective.
A yard deep in the end zone, Gordon Ely Kelso. And they've got Andre Gause back deep for the first time. Return this one. Very high. Unreturnable. Georgia bounce. Where will it end?
Good grief. That's the 5th punt that's been allowed to hit the ground. That's about 50 yards in field position. You know what that is, folks? That's 5 first downs.
That is a 50-yard punt. And without any timeouts, but with 3:13 to work with, Pinkins and the Carolina offense take over at their 37-yard line. We have been given a treat because we get a chance to see why Georgia is so highly thought of, number 3 team in the country. And David Green said, we talked to him this week, you know what? This is a test we expect, and if we don't pass it, we're maybe not deserving of national championship expectations.
Well, he's right.
And the test for Carolina, can they erase the habit of losing the close one? There's a good start. Corey Boyd.
Well,
13 yards, and he did it all on his own. He got to midfield.
I don't need to tell you that Corey Boyd is a warrior. Everybody in the program respects him. He's the guy that ran over Lou Holtz on the practice field and broke Coach Holtz's leg. Lou said, I jumped up and said, good job, good hit, Corey, and then I went to the hospital and got a cast.
And he said, Corey, are you okay?
I was impressed. I was impressed with Pinkins, the way he laid that ball off in the flat. He's continuing to make nice throws. A lot of people say, hey, that's an easy throw in the flat, but he put it in perfect position for Boyd to move the ball upfield.
13 out of 19, 200 yards now for Dondrell Pinkins. Fakes short, throws deep, and incomplete. Jennings covering Matthew Thomas.
That's a wasted play. I know that Pinkins wanted to take a crack down the field, but you have to read Jennings. You have to read his depth. Jennings had too much depth on this ball. Pinkins with too much ability with his feet and also the ability to come underneath. Don't waste a down if you don't see the deep ball come open.
Nice play by Jennings. He's had a rough night in some respects, but he had about a 40-inch vertical jump to get a piece of that football.
Pinkins, deflection, interception. Georgia gets it back. Paul Oliver returns it 14 yards on maybe the last gasp for South Carolina tonight.
That's the danger, throwing the ball inside. Slant routes, you have got to be careful with the football. You have to be precise. Tim Jennings is going to get the deflection. And then the pick. Oliver coming up.
Ball right through Tim Jennings' hands, batted up in the air. A very poor throw.
Who's he throwing it to?
Well, I tell you, he got baited. Jennings is sitting out there. He's squatting in a 3-deep coverage, and he's playing essentially the strong safety position in the nickelback thing, and Pinkins didn't expect him to swoop out to the football, and that's what happened.
Careless throw.
Turner's working on Jennings. Another chance for Georgia to run it out. Michael Cooper has about 8. No timeouts for the Gamecocks. 2:23 and counting.
So important to preserve those timeouts. Now you just stand there helplessly and watch this clock count down because the timeouts were blown earlier in the half.
Georgia picks up a first down here, depending on what down. There's not much life left for South Carolina. If Lou Holtz can get a stop here, a hold, no first down, the Gamecocks will get the football back, and they'll have some time to move it downfield.
Well, if they make a first down, it's all over. Georgia takes a knee.
Captain Green using every bit of the play clock. Cooper on the cutback will have the first down. Well, having it their way tonight. Brought to you by Burger King, and the Georgia defense certainly has. They've given up just 73 yards on the ground, and they forced 2 late turnovers, both by Pinkins, a fumble and an interception. Burger King, stat of the game, 273 total yards allowed by Georgia. And the only 2 turnovers, both on these late Carolina possessions by Pinkins, who otherwise, along with Troy Williamson, about the only elements that Georgia could not deal with as a defense. So David Pollack, a minute away from what has become the customary Georgia road win. They will go to 13-1 under Mark Richt, with David Green as his quarterback, in opposing teams' home stadiums. That is unbelievably hard to even contemplate, much less to see a team actually pull that off, as somebody who has coached in these SEC stadiums.
Well, that's right. And what I said earlier, I really meant. Player of the game, Thomas Davis, 11 tackles, numerous intimidations, just all over the football field. His standard great game, but I really meant what I said. Lou Holtz can take this and build on it if his team will respond properly and understand that they fought for 60 minutes. The clock ran out on them this time, but the next opponent's not going to be as skilled as this bunch in white tonight, and they'll have a chance to go on with their dreams.
So our final, Georgia 20, South Carolina 16, and the habits of both programs continue. Georgia takes a tight one on the road, and Lou Holtz has another one that's going to feel like razor blades as he swallows a 4-point home loss. Georgia now 2-0, a 4-point win in a game in which they trailed most of the night. We will get you now to Fayetteville, Arkansas, and Texas against the Razorbacks. For Bill Curry, David Norrie, Alex Flanagan, our entire crew, Dave Barnett, good night from Columbia. On to Ron Franklin and Mike Godfrey.